Chapter 14:11. A thought was running through Hong Mo's mind. This guy blocked the mystic spirit race's mysterious 6 realms / all by himself. This guy killed 300 mystic spirit race immortal supremacies all by himself. Although the heavenly fiend race had more immortal supremacies than the mystic spirit race, Hong Mo was on par with Hong Yu in terms of top-tier strength. All of a sudden, Hong Mo's arrogance was extinguished at once. At this moment, the myriad world voice transmission talisman buzzed. Hong Mo narrowed his eyes and quickly opened it. The solipsistic is with us. Hong Mo, you can attack without any worries. Wait, it's the solipsistic. He actually appeared in front of our army. What's going on? What? You saw the solipsistic too? I have one here too. No, don't be afraid. It's either the solipsistic's clone or someone pretending to be him. Hearing the news from the other immortal army, Hong Mo's nervous mood finally relaxed. If the solipsistic was the only one in the Golden Sand planet, he would still be afraid. However, there were solipsistic everywhere, so there was no need to be afraid. Hong Mo circulated his spirit energy and carefully observed the changes in spirit energy around Lu Chen. Indeed, it was just an illusion. He smiled and said to the myriad world voice transmission talisman, wait for the heavenly fiend race to win the flag battle. Then, Hong Mo put away the myriad world voice transmission talisman and raised his head slightly. He said to Lu Chen, how naive. Do you think you can fool me with this trick? Solipsistic, what's wrong? Do you want to hear it again? I said that everyone in this world, no, the entire human race will be annihilated and completely disappear from this world. Huang He looked at Lu Chen worriedly and said to the true immortal who had sent Lu Chen over, why didn't you bring your real body here? Why did you send a clone? How can an immortal supremacy not have a real body and a clone? Immortal King, Lone Tyrant told us to bring this. If he brings his real body here, the immortal army will change their target. Immortal King, Lone Tyrant told us to bring this. Lu Chen's doppelganger said to Huang He, tell everyone to retreat. Leave this to me. This. Huang He was at a loss. Lu Chen smiled faintly, what? You still have a way to resist the heavenly devil immortal army? Clearly, Huang He had no other choice, so he could only choose to have the army retreat. Lu Chen's doppelganger calmly looked at the mighty immortal army in the sky. Suddenly, Lu Chen raised his hand and a black spear appeared beside him. The body of the spear was pitch black, but there was a red light emerging from within. It was as if something had been imprisoned in a cage and was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, trying to break out of the cage. Yes, Void God-slaying spear. Flood Demon's eyes widened. The main body could create clones, but how could a weapon create clones? This avatar was carrying the real Void God-destroying spear. Was the solipsistic crazy? Lu Chen's eyes flashed coldly as he said coldly, remember this. If you dare to invade my human world, I, Lu Chen, will kill as many immortal army as you come. Celestial Demon Symbiosis. With a boom, Lu Chen's white hair stood on end. His body surged with terrifying spiritual energy as he rose into the air. Emptiness of gods and demons arm, heart demon, death ground, celestial demon heavenly might, war god possession, devil transformation. Lu Chen activated all of them. The only pity was that Lu Chen's great void arm still destroyed the Demon King descending outfit that Fire Demon had given him. The group of heavenly fiend immortal supremacies was dumbfounded. What kind of doppelganger could learn all the skills of the main body? Are you a doppelganger or the main body? You are a war soul. Impossible, it is impossible for me not to recognize you. You are a doppelganger. Flood Demon roared. Lu Chen's eyes were red as he grinned. Just now, it was a doppelganger. But now, you will know after you try. Void attack, Void God destroying spear, endless dawn. With a flash of white light, the spear pierced through the sky. In the horizon, the dark clouds were forced back by this spear light. The endless spear intent was like the dawn breaking, illuminating the earth. Flood Demon used the huge cauldron to defend Lu Chen's attack. However, he had the huge cauldron, but the other immortal supremacies did not. As they spoke, some immortal supremacies had already been severely injured. The terror of Endless Dawn was that the spear intent was endless. Once someone was severely injured within the attack range, it could mean that they would be even more powerless to resist Endless Dawn's ferocious attack. As expected, many low-star immortal supremacies had already fallen from the sky. Even immortal supremacies could not withstand Lu Chen's attack, let alone the Sengoku True Immortals and Loose Immortals. In an instant, a large number of figures fell from the sky, their fate unknown. Huang He's eyes widened as he watched this scene in horror. One person withstanding the million-strong immortal army and killing immortal supremacies with one move. Oh my god, there's actually such a powerful human in this world. What's the solipsistic realm? How can he be so powerful? The despair on the Immortal Foundation elders' faces was now replaced by shock. Human King Realm, withstanding the immortals. For level 12 heavenly tribulations, defying the heavens. The old man's information had obviously not been updated for a long time. The current Lu Chen was no longer a human king. At this moment, Lu Chen had already charged toward the million-strong immortal army. Oh no, this is definitely not a clone. Retreat quickly. Flood Demon roared angrily. The heavenly demon soul refining furnace resisted while retreating. At this moment, who would still think that the Lu Chen here was a clone? Flood Demon, quickly informed the others that the solipsistic realm's real body is here. Another immortal supremacy said anxiously. The demonic beast race had just received the news that the solipsistic realm's real body was on the side of the heavenly demon race. Now that the heavenly demon race was retreating, they needed to seize the opportunity to quickly take down the world in front of them. However, there was still a solipsistic realm's clone standing on the other side's defensive line. Solipsistic realm, it's too late for your real body to come. The demonic beast immortal supremacy did not dare to delay any longer. He ordered, quickly destroy this world. Suddenly, the clone Lu Chen's figure blurred. The biggest change seemed to be that this clone's hair turned white and his left arm demonized. Then, a black shadow flashed past. Attacking the void, sky-breaking sword. Before the immortal supremacy could react, he felt a chill on his chest. Lu Chen had already appeared behind him. He lowered his head and looked at the wound on his chest in disbelief. Then, he turned to look at Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled slightly. Who told you that my real body is on the side of the heavenly demon race? The immortal supremacy's eyes widened. His mind was in chaos. He had cultivated to the immortal supremacy level. Was there anything that could shock him to this extent? Solipsistic realm, what's going on? Lu Chen snorted coldly. I wasn't there during the War of the 10,000 Races. If I was there, would the 10,000 races deserve to win? Attacking the void, Earth Fiend Dark Spear, Sky Fiend Earth Fiend. With that, Lu Chen let out a low roar and still charged into the demonic beast race's great formation. The demonic beast race had more than 200 immortal supremacies, but no one was a match for them, great void form. Lu Chen suddenly roared. Today, as long as anyone from the 10,000 races makes a move, no matter what race, leave behind 100 immortal supremacies for me. Hearing this skill, the demonic beast race's immortal supremacy was already trembling. How did this guy do it? He was actually going to start a massacre in the face of tens of millions of immortal soldiers. Chapter 14:12. The Blood Tribe Immortal Supremacy looked at the man in the enemy's formation and hesitated. This time, the myriad race's immortal army had split into several groups. Up until now, they had already launched 7 flag battles. 7 attacks. Solipsistic had blocked 7 of them. He had already killed at least 7 to 800 immortal supremacies. And now, who would be so naive to think that this was just an ordinary clone standing in front of him? 3,000 avatars, vanishing from heaven and earth. God-tier movement technique, God's arrival. The Blood Tribe immortal supremacy's mind buzzed. There was a legend about God's arrival in the 7th heaven. However, considering everything else, how many years had it been since Solipsistic entered the 7th heaven? He had already cultivated God's arrival. What the hell was this? However, this was the only possibility that could explain how Solipsistic could appear in so many worlds. Lu Chen only smiled. He didn't deny or confirm. He only looked at the Blood Tribe immortal supremacy indifferently. The two stared at each other for a moment. It was as if one was saying, "Is this God's arrival? Can you still fight?" The other was saying, "Want to know? You can try." After a moment of stalemate, the Blood Tribe immortal supremacy suddenly shouted, "Retreat!" The Horizon Immortal Army actually chose to retreat. The defending army looked on in shock as the million-strong army turned around and retreated through the teleportation gate. They're gone. They're really gone. The Blood Tribe retreated. Sengoku, who was beside Lu Chen, held Lu Chen's hand tightly. "Brother Du Kuang, they're gone. Our world is saved." The people behind him shouted excitedly. "Thank you, Mad God, for helping us defend our home. Mad God is indeed the strongest war god of the human race. We will never forget Mad God's kindness." Excitement and joy appeared on everyone's faces. Countless people shouted Solipsistic's name. Lu Chen smiled and finally let out a sigh of relief. 7 of the 23 armies were defeated by Lu Chen. The other armies also retreated one after another. The second wave of attack by the Myriad Race's immortal army was once again defeated by Lu Chen. Within the immortal spirit paradise, Lu Chen's true body opened its eyes slightly. Mu Long looked at Lu Chen in shock. "Lu Chen, what happened?" "They're retreating," Lu Chen said. Mu Long was also relieved. "They retreated? They really retreated? They retreated?" Qian Ji was disheartened. "How is this possible? They have split up into 23 groups. You can't possibly have a way to deal with them. How did this happen?" Lu Chen looked at Qian Ji with a faint smile. "You must be disappointed." It was more than disappointment, it was utter despair. Qian Ji glared at Lu Chen. If he couldn't even kill him, what else could he do? Qian Ji was depressed, but Lu Chen, Mu Long, and the rest were relieved. Mu Long looked at Lu Chen, who was sitting beside him, and frowned. "You said they retreated just because you were sitting at home? God's descent is so powerful." Lu Chen smiled. "Why do you make it sound so simple? No matter how powerful God's descent is, it's just a movement skill. You still have to fight through it. Moreover, my true body has been to 23 worlds. How can you say that I was just sitting at home?" Mu Long did not care about Lu Chen's explanation. His focus was still on how powerful God's descent was. So this is a godly skill. Cloning in 10,000 worlds, alternating between the real and the illusory. Lu Chen, you don't need to use a portal to reach the 10,000 worlds in the future. Lu Chen shook his head, as if he was not satisfied with his performance. "It's not as powerful as you say. I can only clone in 30 worlds at most, and I can only stay in each world for less than 30 minutes. I'm still far from reaching God's descent." "Big brother, you learned God's descent in a day. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Fine, you're a monster. I won't say anything more. But you're still not satisfied?" Mu Long said helplessly. "Friend, can you have a bottom line?" People kept coming through the portal of the immortal spirit cave abode. They waited for a few days, but there was no sign of the myriad race's immortal army. Some of them came back to understand the situation. When the immortals heard what happened, they were all shocked by the battle. He really blocked it. That's unbelievable. Billions of immortal soldiers couldn't do anything to Solipsistic. I didn't have much hope. Who would have thought that Mad God really had the ability to block billions of immortal soldiers? It's a blessing for the human race to have Mad God. A week later, the immortal spirit cave abode could no longer hold so many people. Other than a few immortal supremes, the others could only stay outside. 26 human immortal supremes and 132 Sengoku were waiting for Lu Chen. They were going to discuss their next move. Lu Chen, Mu Long, and the Qianji puppet hurried over. As soon as they entered, all the Sengoku and immortal supremes stood up. They all cupped their fists at Lu Chen. Mad God, please accept our bow. Mu Long was shocked. Those who bowed to Lu Chen were at least Sengoku. In the human race's immortal realm, they were respected by tens of thousands of people. But at this moment, the human race's immortals were bowing to a human emperor, and even Mu Long himself had to accept the bow. Qianji was unconvinced. How did Lu Chen get to where he was today? When he was in the sixth heaven, he had been looking for Lu Chen. When he found out about Lu Chen's whereabouts, this guy was already doing very well. He even called the people from the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace his brother. Qianji didn't dare to act rashly. In the end, he was forced to undergo his tribulation and became an itinerant immortal. Now, in the seventh heaven, this guy made a name for himself again in just a few years. Lu Chen smiled. Seniors, you're exaggerating. We're all from the human race. It's our duty to fight for the human race. There's no movement from the Wan tribe for now. But we can't let our guard down. Let's think of a plan first. Qianji, come and give us an analysis. Qianji cursed Lu Chen countless times in his heart. This guy really doesn't treat me as a human. Now, he's even asking me to come up with a plan. It's as if dealing with the Wan tribe's army is my job. Lu Chen hadn't hit me for almost 8 days. Qianji felt a sense of danger. It's like this. For this meeting, I've specially prepared a form. Lu Chen, Mu Long, can you help me distribute the form? Lu Chen was stunned. Qianji already knows how to prepare forms in advance. Lu Chen and Mu Long hurriedly distributed the form. Seeing that Lu Chen was helping him, Qianji was secretly happy. No matter how strong Lu Chen is, he still has to help me. Just when Qianji was feeling proud of himself, he suddenly slapped himself. Qianji looked at Lu Chen in pain. Does Lu Chen know what I'm thinking? Impossible. You. Why did you hit me? Why didn't I get one? Lu Chen frowned and looked at Qianji. There were too many people. I didn't prepare so many. Be more careful next time. Oh, I know. After being slapped again, Qianji turned his hatred towards Lu Chen into an impassioned speech. Now, the human race must do 2 things. First, the Wan tribe will break the rules and launch an all-out attack. Everyone, take a look at the form. The coordinates of the human world have been made public. I've calculated the number and distribution of the human world. We'll use the Immortal Spirit Grotto Heaven's teleportation formation as a transfer point and use the Immortals as our soldiers to form an effective defense system. Second, we need Mad God to break the Heaven Path defense formation and launch an attack on the Wan tribe's immortal realm. We'll take drastic measures to defeat the Wan tribe's army. Chapter 14-13. Qianji's analysis was simple, vivid, and detailed. It was obvious that he had put in a lot of effort. Qianji's plan for defense was divided into a mobile defense army and a permanent army. Since the 10,000 races used teleportation, it was unrealistic to form a real defense line. Therefore, the mobile defense army was the most important. After a discussion, they decided that Ling would lead the mobile defense army with the other 25 celestial sovereigns as support. Lu Chen's main task was to increase his strength and break the Heaven Dao defense array. At the end of the meeting, Lu Chen suddenly asked the celestial sovereigns, "Dear celestial sovereigns, I've been thinking about a question after fighting with the other races. The other races have their own race divine skills. Does that mean that we humans don't have any?" Ling shook her head. "Not all races have their own race divine skills. Only someone from our race who has broken through the seventh heaven can have a divine skill passed down." Lu Chen wanted to ask about the eighth heaven, but now was not the time. He could only nod. After the meeting, the immortal spirit grotto heaven became the headquarters of the human defense. The human race had lost the final battle, and they had no motivation to fight back. However, Lu Chen's continuous attacks had boosted the morale of the human race. Everyone in the immortal spirit grotto heaven was in high spirits. At the same time, Lu Chen had already entered the cultivation room to increase his level. At the same time, the celestial sovereigns of the 10,000 races were arguing fiercely at the immortal mountain at the border of the 7 immortal domains. "We've been defeated repeatedly in the flag battle. Can we still hold the flag? When did the solipsistic learn God's advent? In my opinion, we shouldn't hold the flag battle. We should just attack the human race directly. God's advent has 3,000 avatars, but it only has one main body. If we attack, how many people can the solipsistic save? No, we exterminate the human race for the resources of the human world. In the final analysis, we want to improve our strength, help us break through the bottleneck, and make further progress in martial arts. If we can't win the flag battle and rashly exterminate the human race, and there are only a handful of people who practice the demonic arts, our Taoist hearts will be shaken, which will be detrimental to our cultivation. Are we not going to fight the humans? For thousands of years, there has been no such thing as winning the war of the 10,000 clans and immortals but not exterminating their clans. Can you stabilize your Tao heart like this? That's right. What's the difference between killing a human and killing a bunch of ants? Don't worry, the extermination of my clan has no effect on my Tao heart. I think we should just launch an all-out attack. Since everyone has different opinions, then we'll follow the old rules and vote." 2 hours later, the voting results were out. Give up on the flag battle and launch an all-out attack on the human race. If that's the case, my devil race will give up. The immortal venerable of the devil race angrily left the banquet. After the demon race left, the god race also left. The monster race and the titan race also began to hesitate. If it was in the past, the myriad races would still have laws to follow. But now, they had encountered a situation that had never occurred before. The immortal army of the 10,000 races had 10,000 different opinions. It was destined that they would not be able to reach a consensus in a short time. In the cultivation room of the immortal spirit cave, Lu Chen was cultivating with the 8th level of the mixed divine demon cultivation technique. Perhaps his cultivation speed was too fast, causing the 2nd level of the cultivation pagoda, which could last for a few days, to run out of spirit chi in less than an hour. He lost the advantage of time compression. Lu Chen frowned slightly. He hadn't considered this point. He hurriedly stood up and was about to leave the cultivation room on the 2nd level and head to the 1st level. Suddenly, he sensed that the spirit chi in the cultivation room on the 2nd level, which had already run out of spirit chi, was rapidly replenishing. Lu Chen walked out of the cultivation pagoda, puzzled. When he saw the situation outside the cultivation pagoda, his throat suddenly tightened. At this time, there weren't many immortals in the immortal spirit cave. Most of them had brought the next battle tactics of the human race back to their own worlds. There were only a few people left in the immortal spirit cave. At this time, Ling placed her cultivation treasure on an empty spot in the spirit gathering array outside the cultivation pagoda and was about to turn and leave. Senior Ling. Lu Chen called out to her. You are. Lu Chen looked at the spirit gathering array outside the pagoda. There were already thousands of treasures placed on top of it. Ziling turned around, and when she saw Lu Chen, she gave him a rare smile. Your immortal spirit cave is only a second-class immortal's abode. The spirit chi here isn't abundant. We were afraid that you wouldn't be able to supply enough spirit chi when you cultivate, so we set up the Myriad Star Spirit Gathering Array to help you gather spirit chi. It just so happens that we have a lot of people. If everyone takes out their own treasures, we should be able to fill up the Myriad Star Spirit Gathering Array. Lu Chen didn't know what to say. Thank you very much, everyone. I haven't had time to thank you. Ziling took a deep breath and walked in front of Lu Chen. It's not you who should be thanking, it's us. I really didn't expect that when the human race was at peace, there would be constant internal strife, and we would snatch each other's coordinates, resources, and wealth. But now, we have become comrades in arms who share life and death. I don't know how many years have passed since I became a venerable immortal. The hot-bloodedness in my heart has long been abandoned during the tribulation. But in the end, I know that the human race is going to die, and I can't stay out of it. Lu Chen, I actually envy you. The path to immortality is long, and it's rare that you can still keep your original intentions. Perhaps, the one who can go against the Jiutian is not the gods, demons, immortals, or Buddhas, but precisely human. Lu Chen didn't know what to say. Ziling looked at Lu Chen again, and her eyes became bright. Well, I should go. The immortal army of the myriad tribes will make their move at any time, and the mobile army still needs to be adjusted. You don't have to worry about the spirit chi. Cultivate well, and leave the rest to us. Lu Chen nodded heavily and watched Ziling enter the teleportation array. With the Myriad Stars Spirit Gathering Array, the spirit chi of the cultivation pagoda was replenished very quickly. Lu Chen could even cultivate on the third floor of the cultivation pagoda. According to the time ratio of 1 to 15, Lu Chen's cultivation time had greatly increased. In addition, the Myriad Stars Spirit Gathering Array, which gathered the cultivation treasures of tens of thousands of people, also provided a large amount of spirit chi support for Lu Chen's cultivation. The cultivation effect of the 8th level of the mixed celestial demon cultivation technique had increased threefold. 1,500 spirit chi per minute. A month later, the immortal army of the myriad tribe still hadn't made their move, and Lu Chen had been cultivating on the third floor of the cultivation pagoda for 450 days. He didn't know why the immortal army of the myriad tribes was so slow. After 2.5 months, they still hadn't launched an attack. And in these 2.5 months, Lu Chen had been cultivating in the Myriad Stars Spirit Gathering Array for 3 years. On this day, Lu Chen felt a warm current flowing through his body. The liquid spirit chi in his spirit core flowed through every blood vessel, pores, and internal organs in his body. His body began to compress slightly. Muscles, bones, and skin were all the same. When Lu Chen stood up, he was shocked to find that his height had shrunk from 1.9 meters to only 1.9 meters. Why did I become shorter after breaking through? Lu Chen frowned slightly. He lowered his head and glanced at his badge. On it was written, 2-star Savage Human Emperor, variant. Finally, 2 stars. Lu Chen didn't care that he had become shorter, and his eyes lit up. You myriad tribes can't make up your mind. Hehe, it seems that only I can help you make the decision. Pangu, I'm sorry, but I have to try your Heavenly Doubt Defense Array again. After saying that, Lu Chen walked out of the cultivation room. Chapter 14:14. When Mu Long, Qian Ji, Li Shang, Jin Luan, Gu Yan, and the others saw Lu Chen walk out of the cultivation room, they knew something big was about to happen and hurriedly followed him. Outside the immortal spirit cave, there were still immortals entering the heavenly defense array and joining the human defense system. It seemed that Ziling was also working hard to strengthen the human team and had contacted many people. At this time, they saw a group of people walking out. The person in the lead, wearing a shabby fisherman's outfit, was walking out quickly. That's the solipsistic array. What is he doing? Why is he dressed like that? Everyone followed him in surprise. 7 to 8 miles away, they were already at the edge of the Immortal Spirit Cave. At the same time, this was where the Heavenly Defense Array was located. Looking out from the inside, one could vaguely see an arc-shaped transparent light shield that completely covered a large area. Lu Chen looked at the array and took a deep breath. Lonely shadow fishing was sleeveless. This was very important to Lu Chen, who only had a couple's outfit left. Lu Chen threw the bamboo hat to Mulong and stared at the array. Pangu, thank you for everything you've done for us. Lu Chen said in a low voice. How strong was the Heavenly Defense Array? There were hundreds of thousands of immortals in the human race, including Sengoku, but no one thought that they could break the Heavenly Defense Array. They didn't even think about it. Even the one-star human emperor Lu Chen couldn't break the Heavenly Defense Array. It was this powerful array that protected the human race's last line of defense and bought time for Lu Chen. Pangu the Immortal said that when Lu Chen broke the Heavenly Defense Array, he would have the strength to challenge all races. And now, Lu Chen was standing in front of the array. Then, Lu Chen's eyes burned with fighting spirit. He shouted, Celestial Demon Symbiosis. Land of Death, Dragon Blood Boiling, Dragon God Form, Celestial Demon Astral Form, Emptiness of Gods and Demons Arm, Inner Demon. After waiting for 5 minutes, he entered the virtual form. Lu Chen raised his left hand, and the Limitless Fiend God Sword and the Void God-Slaying Spear appeared. This was Lu Chen's strongest state, coupled with 2 divine artifacts. Taishu Form, Sky-Breaking Sword. Great Void Form, Void God-Destroying Spear, Heaven's Fury Spear. The 2 strongest single-target attacks were launched at the same time. With a spear in his left hand and a sword in his right, Lu Chen was like a beam of white light as he crashed into the Heavenly Tao Defense Array. In mid-air, a tiny black dot viciously collided with the gigantic defensive barrier that could hold the heavens and earth. With a loud boom, heaven and earth shook, and the earth rumbled. Everyone stared at this scene with their mouths agape. After a few seconds, a crack suddenly appeared on the spiritual wall in front of Lu Chen. Shortly after, the crack began to spread outwards. In an instant, the crack had spread throughout the entire Heavenly Tao Defense Array. Oh my God! He broke the Heavenly Tao Defense Array by himself. Mulong's eyes widened. This was something that even a senior immortal could not do. A few years ago, he could still exchange a few blows with Lu Chen, but now it seemed that he had been left far behind by this guy. He broke it, he really broke it. Li Shang said excitedly, Chen-er, good job. Chen-er is too strong. Immortal Master Lu Yuan, if you could see this scene, you would definitely be proud of him. Jin Luan's eyes were filled with tears. These Earth Immortals had watched Lu Chen grow up. In just a few years, Chen-er was already able to laugh at the 7 heavens. How could they not be excited? After decades of persistence, there was finally hope. Lu Chen saw that the Heavenly Tao Defense Array had not been completely broken. In a fit of anger, he attacked with his Buddha body and activated the Shattering Void, which had a special restraining effect on arrays and domains. With the support of the virtual form, the power of the Shattering Void triple attack was several times stronger than before. With another loud bang, the powerful Heavenly Tao Defense Array was instantly shattered by Lu Chen's punch. The immortal spirit grotto heaven that had been hidden all this time finally saw the light of day. Lu Chen landed on the ground and shook his head. It took 2 attacks to break it. This array is so powerful. Mulong was already used to Lu Chen's way of speaking. Anyway, he could not understand it from the perspective of an ordinary person. Qian Ji's body stiffened, but his expression was extremely interesting. This guy is not human. After breaking the Heavenly Tao defense array, Lu Chen walked to Mu Long's side and took his bamboo hat. Mu Long, the Heavenly Tao defense array has been broken. Once the 10,000 races know, they will definitely take action. So, I'm going to find them now. Mu Long frowned. Lu Chen, I'll go with you. Although I'm useless, I can at least help you point the way. Lu Chen smiled. What are you saying? How can you be useless? You're my strongest blacksmith. Li Shang and the rest also came over. Chen, we're also worried. Let us go. Lu Chen smiled. We've settled the score. You can all go. Just as he was speaking, Zi Ling appeared out of nowhere. She might have rushed over after hearing the news. Lu Chen, are you going? Lu Chen turned around. Senior Zi Ling, you're here too. Not bad, the Heavenly Tao defense array has been broken. It's time to settle the score with the 10,000 races. Wait a moment. We can't let the 10,000 races think that there's no one left in the human race. We'll go with you. Lu Chen thought for a moment, then said, okay. Not long after, Zi Ling had mobilized the entire human race's mobile army. It could be seen that after this period of training, the mobile army had become extremely mobile. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Senior Zi Ling, if you all go, the 10,000 races will launch their attack. Zi Ling said, the mobile army is meant to deal with all kinds of unexpected situations. Lu Chen, your battle here is the battle that will ultimately determine the fate of the human race. We can't let you go alone. Besides, you're actually the main support force. Without you, our mobile army can't stop the 10,000 races immortal army. Zi Ling was also telling the truth. This battle concerned the entire human race. They also had the right to go. Okay, then don't get close to avoid danger. Follow behind 10 wings. 10 wings. Lu Chen ordered, and a giant dragon appeared. 10 wings, don't let the other mounts be unable to fly. Roar. Although 10 wings was unwilling, since its boss had spoken, it could only keep a low profile for once. The giant dragon shuttled quickly through the clouds. Lu Chen was afraid that something unexpected would happen, so he ordered 10 wings to rush to the 7th celestial mountain as quickly as possible. The 7th celestial mountain was surrounded by clouds and mist. The 10,000 races immortal lords were rushing over from all directions. Today should be the last meeting. Judging from the previous coordination, they were most likely going to give up on the flag battle and launch an attack on the human race directly. At this moment, giant mounts landed on the mountainside. Then, tens of thousands of immortal lords headed to the immortal peak balcony at the top of the 7th celestial mountain. However, when the immortal ancestors of each race approached the immortal peak balcony, they found that there were already people there. 8 human race immortals were standing in the center of the immortal peak balcony in a square formation. Among these people, except for one Sengoku, the other 7 were all itinerant immortals. These humans dare to come to the 7th celestial mountain. Itinerant immortal Sengoku dares to come to the immortal peak balcony. They're courting death. Now I get angry when I see humans. Kill these people. At this moment, the 8 of them retreated at the same time and stood behind a man. This man was wearing a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat that covered his face. He just sat there quietly. A deep, cold voice suddenly spoke. Who said they were going to touch my friends? Come, they're standing right here. Try touching one of them. Chapter 14-15. Many venerables here had never seen Lu Chen in person. Hearing someone speak such nonsense on the Immortal Peak's rooftop was like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. Who is so arrogant? At this moment, hundreds of thousands of human soldiers flew out from the cliff behind that person. They hovered in the air, occupying half of the sky. The venerables couldn't help but be surprised. Where did the human race get the courage to appear here with an army? The venerables of the heavenly demon tribe looked at the humans and then at Ziling. Ziling, are you going to stake everything on this one throw? How dare you come here? Ziling smiled. Martial demon, I didn't come alone. The venerables of the heavenly demon tribe snorted. You brought a bunch of mobs. Do you think you can defy the heavens and change your fate? With just the few of you, a mere few 100,000 small fries, I don't think you'll be able to cause any ripples. Ziling said. I'm only talking about one person. One person? Martial demon frowned and finally looked at the man in the bamboo hat. Even as the strongest venerables of the heavenly demon tribe, he could smell danger from this guy's aura. There was only one person in the human race who could have such an aura. Could it be that person? But wasn't the solipsistic trapped in the heavenly Tao defense array? He shouldn't be able to come out. At this moment, the voice of the man in the bamboo hat sounded again. Listen up, venerables of all races. The results of the myriad races' immortal war against the human race are nullified. His words were like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. Nullified? You must be dreaming. Since the human race was defeated in the myriad races' immortal war, the human race must perish. What arrogance! Not a single venerables of the myriad races would dare to say such a thing. You, a mere human, dare to say that you're nullifying the results of the myriad races' immortal war? Don't think you can survive just because you have the solipsistic. When my army of billions launches an all-out attack, can he stop it? The man in the bamboo hat harumphed coldly. You're right. If your immortal army were to launch an all-out attack on the human world at the same time, the solipsistic kingdom wouldn't be able to withstand it. But why haven't you launched an attack yet? What were the results of the dozens of flag battles you fought? Listen up, I'm not asking for your opinion. Either you give up on attacking the human race, or die. After saying that, the man took off his bamboo hat. The moment he took off his bamboo hat, all the immortal sovereigns were moved. Yes, it's him. Human solipsistic. Impossible. Didn't they say that he was trapped in the heavenly Tao defense array? Why is he here? Lu Chen looked at those immortal venerables calmly and said, You don't need to worry about how I got here. Now, I'll say it again. Either you give up attacking the human world, or you immortal venerables, I'll give you all a chance. Come at me together. The immortal venerables of the various clans looked at each other. Solipsistic kingdom, you're too arrogant. Everyone, could it be that tens of thousands of immortal venerables can't defeat a mere mortal? That's right. If we retreat from this battle, our Tao hearts will be shaken, and I'm afraid we won't have any hope of pursuing martial arts in the future. If we kill the solipsistic kingdom, the human race will be defeated. We've discussed for so long, and now the opportunity has come to us. Lu Chen took a step forward, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. It seems that you won't give up until you see the coffin. After saying that, he took out the infinite fiend god sword and the void god destroying spear. He walked to the edge of the rooftop alone and looked at the tens of thousands of immortal venerables around him. If that's the case, then stop talking nonsense. I'll beat you until you're convinced. How could the immortal venerables be so easily intimidated by Lu Chen? All of a sudden, the immortal venerables of all the races activated their cultivation techniques. Lu Chen snorted and directly activated the divine fiend symbiosis and other enhancement skills, summoning Little Beast, Little Originator, and Little Furball. At this time, the hearts of the human race's immortals were hanging by a thread. The solipsistic kingdom was going to face tens of thousands of immortal venerables alone. And they were the top immortal venerables of all races. Such a battle was simply unheard of. But at the same time, this battle was related to the fate of the entire human race. While Lu Chen was shooting toward the immortal venerables, a goblin race immortal venerables suddenly charged toward the human army. Suddenly, Lu Chen roared, God descends. Almost at the same time, a figure instantly appeared in front of that guy. Lu Chen was furious. You've cultivated to the immortal venerables level, but you only know how to use such despicable means. Sky-breaking sword. The goblin race immortal venerables was directly killed by the sword. When the other immortal venerables saw this, they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Although the goblin race isn't strong, how could they be killed by the solipsistic kingdom without any time to react? How can this guy be so fast? Even if I activate the blink eye, I still can't see him clearly. Divine movement technique allows him to be everywhere on the battlefield. No wonder he's so confident and dares to bring the human race here. In such a small area, Lu Chen didn't even need to send his doppelgangers to descend, making it even more difficult to guard against. After killing the goblin race immortal venerables with one strike, Lu Chen snorted coldly. It's my fault for giving you time to launch a sneak attack. But you won't have the chance later. After saying that, Lu Chen raised the god-slaying spear and roared, Void attack, Earth Fiend Dark Spear, Sky Dark Earth Fiend. Void attack, Void God-slaying Spear, Endless Dawn. Suddenly, a white light flashed, and in the entire area, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. Large areas of mountains collapsed, and endless evil spirits spewed out from the ground. The white light in the sky was dazzling, illuminating the earth. When he was a one-star human emperor, Lu Chen could already kill hundreds of immortal venerables. Now that he was a two-star human emperor, Lu Chen's combat strength had reached the level where he could completely crush immortal venerables. Whether it was his attack, speed, or especially when combined with his divine skills, Lu Chen killed his way into the enemy's formation. It was as if he had entered a no-man's land, and he slaughtered madly. These 10,000 immortal venerables were all from different races. They didn't even have divine skills from their races, so they couldn't withstand Lu Chen's fierce attacks. One sword breaking the sky, Ice Flame Sword, Sky Dark Earth Fiend, Sky Dark Earth Fiend, Sky Spear, Heaven's Wrath Spear, Endless Dawn, Earth Fire burning the sky. Sword skills, spear skills, elemental spells, Lu Chen's attacks were endless and unpredictable. Ling looked at the back of the figure fighting in the battlefield and couldn't help but sigh. He can kill immortal venerables so easily. This guy is really a monster. Another immortal venerables beside her said, Ling, you and I are both immortal venerables, and we both have experience. In the eyes of others, we are unfathomable, but at this moment, we are looking at Lu Chen. Isn't it like how true immortals and individual immortals look at the battle of immortal venerables? We feel that we can't compare. After a long time, Ling sighed. Actually, with the strength of solipsistic, he shouldn't exist in the 7th layer of heaven. I remember that he entered the 7th layer of heaven less than 10 years ago. To have such achievements in 10 years is really shocking, that person said. You and I only saw him fighting immortal venerables, but we didn't see what he had experienced. Blood stained his straw raincoat. Lu Chen stood with his spear and sword, facing the strongest immortal venerables of the 10,000 races. Lu Chen's eyes were blood red, and they gradually became bloodthirsty. He shouted in a low voice, higher void form. Right arm demonized. How many immortal venerables are there? Come at me together. Chapter 14-16. The human emperor fought against the celestial supremes of all races. Countless celestial supremes of all races came to support. This battle lasted for 2 days and 1 night. The sky was dark, and the sound shook the 7 heavens. The 7 heavens mountain was leveled, and the defensive arrays of the surrounding 7 heavens immortal domains were repeatedly bombarded. The spiritual energy was weak. In this battle, countless celestial supremes of all races died. The human army stood behind Lu Chen, watching the figure covered in blood crazily killing in the enemy's formation. At this time, no one could tell whether he was in the inner demon or not. His eyes were full of blood, he saw blood, his hands were full of blood, his sword, and his spear were all covered in blood. 3 days later, the celestial supremes of all races looked at the silhouette in horror. That person actually had the strength to fight again. This guy can't be defeated at all. Could it be that his spiritual energy is limitless? I've only heard that in the War of the 10,000 Races, all races swept a certain race. But this time, the solipsistic swept all races alone. The celestial supremes of all races were finally afraid. No one dared to approach the man covered in blood. Lu Chen's hands trembled a little because he had held the weapon for too long. After a long and high-intensity battle, his lonely shadow fishing had been damaged again. And there were countless big and small wounds on his body. However, none of them were fatal. Lu Chen stood up and removed the inner demon state. In this battle, he had used the inner demon state countless times. At this time, he couldn't tell whether it was the inner demon that was bloodthirsty or himself that was bloodthirsty. He took a deep breath and took a step forward in the void. The celestial supremes on the opposite side couldn't help but take a step back. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Now tell me, who still has objections to what I said?" The whole place was silent. At this time, who dared to have objections? Those who had objections had already been buried under the seven heavens mountain. Solipsistic, we give up on exterminating the human race. You've already killed so many celestial supremes, do you want to destroy the entire seven heavens? We agree to revoke the result of the War of the 10,000 Races. Lu Chen looked at these people and snorted, "What you said doesn't count, Mu Long." Lu Chen shouted. Mu Long hurriedly came to Lu Chen's side. He secretly supported Lu Chen and found that Lu Chen's body was extremely heavy. Mu Long's heart ached. This guy can't hold on any longer. He was still holding on. This matter definitely couldn't be known by the celestial venerables of the 10,000 races. Mu Long only secretly supported Lu Chen. Lu Chen glanced at Mu Long. His eyes were a little dazed, but he quickly calmed down and said in a deep voice, "In the War of the myriad races, each race will send 10 immortal venerables to challenge the human race. If you want to revoke the result of the War of the myriad races, you also need 10 people from each race to sign the immortal contract here. I'll wait for you here for 1 day. After 1 day, if any clan doesn't sign, if any clan is still unwilling to give up on the extermination of the human race, then wait for me to come personally." With that, Lu Chen looked at Mu Long. The meaning in his eyes was self-evident. He'll leave this to Mu Long. After a while, Lu Chen might not be able to hold on anymore. Mu Long held back his tears and nodded heavily, "Okay." After Lu Chen retreated, he sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to rest. It was as if he was really waiting for the 10,000 races to sign. Not long later, a dozen immortal venerables of the god-descendant race were the first to walk in front of Mu Long. "The human race has Lu Chen. Even if we exterminate the human race, so what? In the end, we can only wait for his revenge. We'll sign." The words of the god-descendant race's immortal venerables quickly gained the approval of the other immortal venerables. Even if they exterminated the human race, as long as they couldn't kill Lu Chen, with Lu Chen's temper, he would go back and exterminate their races one by one. The elf race signs. I really didn't expect that the fate of the human race would be reversed by solipsistic alone. The blood race only has 7 immortal venerables left here. Can we sign the immortal contract first? The demon race gives up. One by one, the races signed the immortal contract, admitting that the results of the immortal war were invalid. Seeing this scene, Ziling took a deep breath. Solipsistic alone had really beaten the 10,000 races into submission, forcing these immortal venerables to deny the results of the immortal war. This kind of thing had never been heard of before. Lu Chen opened his eyes slightly. According to the current situation, it was a foregone conclusion that the 10,000 races would give up on the immortal war. The truth was indeed so. The 10,000 races signed the immortal contract and left quietly. At this moment, Lu Chen finally retracted his gaze. He stood up and crossed the cliff alone. Standing on the peak of a lonely mountain, he looked at the sky. The dark clouds dispersed, and the sun hung high in the sky. The sunlight shone on his body, warm and comfortable. 23 years ago, Lu Chen entered the whirlpool world. He witnessed the scene of the earth being invaded by the alien race and learned about the final battle. This matter was like a knife hanging in his heart, making him not dare to be careless in the slightest for the past 23 years. In the past 23 years, he could no longer remember how many dangers he had encountered and how many desperate situations he had entered. However, there was always a belief that supported him to continue walking. At first, his greatest wish was to protect Louis, but along the way, he had met so many friends. Mu Xian, Suowang, Mountain Man, Jiu, Jingui Yanran, Beishu Egufei, Dongfang Ji, Beishan, Shuiyun, Old Hai, Yi Tian, Yi Fan, Chu Tian, Xiao Zhan, Ling Long, Mu Long, Feng Wu, Pangu, Xing Wu, and so on. He had seen so many worlds. The natives of the fifth heaven, the countless continents of the sixth heaven, the labyrinth of the seventh heaven, the six paths illusory realm. Lu Chen was no longer someone who only wanted to protect his sister. And he had finally done it. Although the human race had lost the final battle, he had reversed the outcome. What happened in the whirlpool world did not happen. In the distance, Ziling stared at Lu Chen's back. The man who had entered and exited the Celestial Supreme 7 times, who had roared and killed, who had not frowned even when he was injured, who no one could defeat, was now trembling slightly from the back. People could not see his expression, just like how they could not see everything he had experienced behind his powerful strength. Mu Long put away the immortal contract signed by the 10,000 races and flashed to Lu Chen's side. He glanced sideways at Lu Chen. Sure enough, the kid's face was covered in tears. Mu Long put a hand on Lu Chen's shoulder and stood on the lonely peak with him. Hey, I know it must have been hard for you to come this far. However, there are still hundreds of thousands of people watching. How can you, the mighty human emperor, let others see you cry? Lu Chen took a deep breath. If they see me, then so be it. I'm not an immortal anyway. It's normal for humans to have emotions and desires. But you're the human emperor. Isn't the human emperor also human? Mu Long smiled. How many celestial supremes did you kill in this battle? You even changed the rules of the seventh heaven. How dare you say you're human? Even if we're all human, you're not. Hey, are you done crying? Do you want me to lend you my shoulder? Mu Long leaned his shoulder against Lu Chen. Lu Chen was annoyed by this guy and rolled his eyes at him. Save it. Leave your shoulder to Feng Wu. Mu Long smiled. Then, let's go. Lu Chen nodded. Yes, he could not stop. Let's go. Lu Chen said firmly. Chapter 14-17. Featherball and the others were also very tired. When they returned to the cave abode, they ran to the battle pet training room, squeezed next to Rhubarb, and fell asleep immediately. There were still many things to deal with in the human race, but Lu Chen had just gone through a great battle. Everyone thought that Lu Chen would rest for a few days. However, when Yi Fan and the others returned a few days later, they found that Lu Chen was not in his stone room. In Changshu City, Lu Chen found a huge pit in the west of the city. This used to be a famous cultivation ground, until Lu Chen came. At this time, the cultivation ground was gone, leaving only a huge abyss. Someone had set up a spirit isolation formation around the entrance to the abyss to block the strong suction force from the entrance. This place had now become an entrance to the myriad worlds maze. Lu Chen stood not far away, frowning. The cultivation ground woven by the roots of the Hongmeng divine tree was no longer there. This place had become the entrance to the myriad worlds maze, so Mu Sheng should not be here. The Hongmeng divine tree seems to be alive. Although its roots connect to the myriad worlds, if it doesn't want me to find it, I'm afraid I won't be able to find it even if I dig 10,000 meters. It seemed that it would not be easy to find Mu Sheng. With a sigh, Lu Chen used a teleportation talisman to go to another city. Kunlun City. At this time, Kunlun City, which was originally packed with people, was almost empty. Lu Chen came to the trading area and found that the shop where he had consigned his items was already open for business. When Lu Chen came in, he found that there was only one person busy here. It was the manager of the shop who was in charge of selling Lu Chen's items. The boss also seemed to find it strange that there was a customer at this time. When he looked up, he was stunned. Mad God. Why are you here? Back then, he thought that Lu Chen was just a hanger-on itinerant immortal who helped Yi Fan and Ling Long. Now, who in the human race did not know the name Solipsistic? Lu Chen smiled. Boss, you're really diligent. The rogue immortal hurriedly put down what he was doing and walked out from behind the counter. Mad God, thank you, Lu Chen waved his hand. It's all in the past. Don't mention it. This. Alright. Mad God, I'll go brew a pot of tea for you. Please take a seat here. The boss hurriedly ran to the counter and took out a small wooden box from the drawer under the counter. He carefully took out the tea leaves and then went to make tea. Not long after, the owner brought the teapot and teacups to Lu Chen. Mad God, this is the Xing Shuang Chun tea that I have kept for many years. Please try it. Lu Chen smiled faintly. Boss, you're too polite. Actually, I'm just here to take a look. I didn't expect you to be open, so I came in to take a look. Have a seat too. The boss was flattered. He, a loose immortal, actually had the opportunity to sit with Solipsistic. Is that really okay? Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. Boss, you're getting more and more demonic. This is your shop. The boss sat down in embarrassment. Lu Chen asked the boss why he opened the shop so early. The boss hurriedly replied, "Oh, after the end of the War of the 10,000 Races, many customers lost their items. The Immortal Master also took away many items and gave up on this shop. He severed his relationship with us hangers-on. I thought that since I have nowhere to go in the future, I might as well see if this shop could open again." Lu Chen frowned. What if other people come looking for you for those lost items? The boss said, the owner of this shop has already run away. It's useless for them to come looking for me. If they really want me to pay, then I'll just owe them. Loose immortals basically have no income anyway. Without this shop and the protection of the Immortal Master, I won't be able to stay in the seventh heaven. Even if there's trouble, I still want to try. Lu Chen thought for a while and said, if you want, you can earn your own money. You don't need to be my hangers-on. Just put my name on this shop. The boss's eyes widened. His mind was buzzing. Put Solipsistic's name on the shop. It was no exaggeration to say that if this name was put on the shop, no one in the seventh heaven would dare to make trouble, let alone in the human immortal realm. And Lu Chen didn't add any additional conditions. Suddenly, the boss's eyes became wet. He hurriedly stood up and bowed deeply to Lu Chen. How could I, Jin Chanzi, have earned the help of the Mad God? Lu Chen smiled and helped Jin Chanzi up. In the future, you can charge me less for the things I consign here. Jin Chanzi hurriedly said, Mad God, if you don't mind, I'm willing to follow you. This shop belongs to you, so why would it accept your payment? Lu Chen frowned slightly. Jin Chanzi, that's not what I meant. Mad God, I'm just a seventh tribulation loose immortal. That's our upper limit. Earning money is not of much use to me. We just want a place to stay. Lu Chen thought for a while. What Jin Chanzi said was not without reason. Well, I don't accept guests. You can go back to the Immortal Spirit Cave and leave Uncle Shang and the others. We have several herb gardens, and I have a lot of resources to sell. I do need a sales window. Lu Chen thought for a while and added, besides, it's a pity not to make use of the mysterious armor king's talent. Jin Chanzi was very excited. Thank you, Mad God, for taking me in. Don't keep calling me Mad God. Just call me Lu Chen. Sit down, Lu Chen said. By the way, do you know where to buy combat clothes? I don't have any clothes that are compatible with shape-shifting now. Lu Chen seemed to have asked the right person. When it came to fashion, Jin Chanzi immediately showed the expression of a professional. The human clan mainly summons ancient remnant souls to assist in battle. There are very few who can transform their bodies directly. The Dragon Clan, the Demonic Beast Clan, the Beast Clan, and the Demonic Beast Clan often undergo drastic changes in their bodies during battle. However, after they transform, they are covered with hair. Their fashion is mostly directly related to their hair. The Demon Clan, the Heavenly Demon, and the Titans have the ability to demonize, but they are also demonized as a whole. After demonization, they don't need to wear any clothes. Most of their clothes have automatic and quick storage functions. Partial demonization like Sir is very rare. But I do have a rare fashion blueprint that meets Sir's requirements. As long as there are enough materials, I can tailor a set for Mad God. The style, color, pattern, whatever Sir wants, I can change. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Jin Chanzi, you can't be. The corners of Jin Chanzi's mouth rose slightly, revealing a confident smile. Sir, you must be joking. My tailoring skills are a little bit better. I am an immortal level tailor. An immortal level tailor? Lu Chen's eyes widened as if he had found a treasure. It seemed to be more difficult to find an immortal level tailor than an immortal. Immediately, Lu Chen gathered all the materials according to Jin Chanzi's request. Sir, you actually have these rare materials. How come you didn't know? Jin Chanzi was also shocked. Every time he reported the materials, Lu Chen looked as if he had never heard of them. But when he rummaged through the storage ring for a while, he always found a lot of them. Was there anyone who didn't know about his wealth? After gathering the materials, Lu Chen asked expectantly, how long will it take? The materials are all here, and they are all high-quality materials. It will take about half a day. Okay, then I'll wait for you. Lu Chen said excitedly. Chapter 14:18. Lu Chen didn't know much about fashion design, so he left it all to Jin Chanzi. Later, Jin Chanzi took out a black and white robe with a smile on his face. Sir, I designed this set of clothes according to the characteristics of your life reversing set and the inspiration from the Taiji twin fish diagram. Oh. It looks amazing. Lu Chen immediately put on the new set of clothes. Jin Chanzi helped to organize it and introduced his design ideas. Sir, this set of clothes uses a boundless design to set off your casual and carefree character. The golden 9 dragons are embedded in the embroidery, which meets your requirements of being low-key, but at the same time, doesn't lose the aura of a king. Especially the sleeves. After Sir's emptiness of gods and demons demonizes your arms, the dragon patterns here will change. The golden and white dragon heads will demonize along with your arms and change into the shape of a demonic dragon. The set of clothes is divided into 2 layers. The inner layer is restrained and will not hinder you in battle. The outer layer is elegant and shows Sir's chic temperament. I heard Sir say that the size of the whole body can be changed slightly, and the arms can withstand the demonization of the arms. Lu Chen was shocked. Jin Chanzi was definitely a talent. This set of clothes was low-key and luxurious. The colors were simple, but it didn't lose the aura of a king. Lu Chen was very satisfied. Ha ha ha, finally a new set of clothes. Lu Chen was very satisfied. Jin Chanzi, how long did it take you to reach the immortal level in tailoring? Your skills are too good. What is the name of this set of clothes? Jean Chanzi smiled embarrassedly and said with a little helplessness, maybe 1,000 years. Sir, the blueprint says it's called, Dual Extreme Supreme. As an itinerant immortal, he had to have some skills to gain a foothold. Lu Chen suddenly froze. He didn't forget about Dual Extreme Supreme, and his face became serious. 1,000 years, so long. Jean Chanzi, do you know about the Hongmeng Divine Tree? Hongmeng Divine Tree. Sir, I know a little, but I'm afraid I only know a little. After all, the Hongmeng Divine Tree is too mysterious. Even a venerable immortal knows little about it. What do you know? Lu Chen pulled Jean Chanzi back to his seat. Within the 7 heavens, the primordial Mongol tree is connected to the myriad realms. It is said that the roots of the primordial Mongol tree cover the entire 7th heaven. It can be said that it is omnipresent. However, it is difficult for us to find the primordial Mongol tree. Jean Chanzi was grateful to Lu Chen and naturally told him everything he knew. He continued, it has its own roots and branches in the immortal realms of each race. However, these roots are not the true consciousness of the primordial Mongol tree. The main consciousness of the primordial Mongol tree can only be seen by finding the main body of the tree. Lu Chen frowned. According to what Mu Xing had said, she seemed to have no choice. Jean Chanzi's words just proved this point. As the root of the human race immortal domain, Mu Xing was not the main consciousness of the primordial Mongol tree. She needed to listen to the main consciousness of the primordial Mongol tree. In other words, if they wanted to find Mu Xing, they would have to find the Hongmeng Divine Tree's main body. Jean Chanzi, do you know where the main body of the primordial Mongolian tree is? Jean Chanzi shook his head. Sir, this is the biggest secret of the 7th heaven. How would I know? It is said that the primordial Mongol tree bears countless treasures of heaven and earth. The branches and trunks of the primordial Mongol tree are the best materials for refining divine weapons. Its leaves are a world. Some people even say that it runs through the entire 9th heaven and existed before the formation of the 9th heaven. Of course, these are all rumors. However, it can also be inferred that if anyone knows the location of the primordial Mongol tree, the 7th heaven would have already flocked to it like a flock of ducks. Lu Chen looked thoughtful. At this moment, Lu Chen received a voice transmission. Master, an old friend of yours has come to the cave residence. He wants you to come back quickly. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Could it be that someone had transcended a tribulation again? Looking at Jean Chanzi, Lu Chen said, Jean Chanzi, come back to the cave residence with me and familiarize yourself with everyone first. The two teleported directly back to the cave residence. As soon as they reached the door, Lu Chen saw a familiar figure sitting at the door. Upon seeing this person, Lu Chen immediately exclaimed, Mountain Man. You're finally willing to come to see me? This old friend of Lu Chen was the Mountain Man. The two sat by the lake. The Mountain Man looked at Lu Chen and said with a smile, Brat, you're really something. After the battle of the 10,000 clans, your name has spread throughout the 7th heaven. Who in the world doesn't know you? Lu Chen shook his head. Don't make fun of me. However, after this battle, I can finally put down one of my worries. After saying that, Lu Chen looked at the Mountain Man strangely. By the way, I've been in the 7th heaven for so long. Where have you been? The Mountain Man took a deep breath and said, If I say that I'm not from the 7th heaven, will you be surprised? Ah. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Aren't you an itinerant immortal? The Mountain Man smiled and said meaningfully, Lu Chen, what if I say that I'm not from the Jyotian? Will you be even more surprised? Lu Chen was stunned. Not from the Jyotian. What do you mean? The Mountain Man sighed. I heard that you've been to the crevice world outside the Jyotian. Lu Chen immediately understood. The Mountain Man meant that he came from a crevice world. A world outside the Jyotian. Lu Chen, there are some things that I can't tell you yet, but I believe that you will find out sooner or later. The mountain man said, because of this, I can't come to see you at any time. I missed your shocking battle. Lu Chen frowned. If the Jiutian was an unsolved mystery, he was indeed getting closer and closer to the answer. However, he had not seen the true face of the Jiutian. Old Shan, why have you come looking for me this time? I heard that you're looking for someone. The mountain man smiled mysteriously. Lu Chen asked anxiously, you know about the Han Mongolian tree? The mountain man was a little embarrassed. Ah. What Han Mongolian tree? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the golden-scaled dragon carp. Golden-scaled dragon carp. Lu Chen blinked. Are you talking about the little golden carp? As the human race's commander, you purposely showed off the pearl. Shouldn't it be the clear water pearl that the golden-scaled dragon carp nurtured? Didn't you show it in public because you want to find it? Lu Chen nodded. At that time, I wanted to tease Qian Ji. At the same time, I also hoped that someone would recognize it. That way, the little golden carp would have some clues. It would be best if the little golden carp could see it himself. That's right. The mountain man said, but not everyone can meet the golden-scaled dragon carp. It's a spiritual creature nurtured by the heavens and earth. It's on the same level as your suboriginator. Lu Chen hurriedly asked, do you know where it is? The mountain man looked at Lu Chen. Give me the clear water pearl. Lu Chen trusted the mountain man a lot. He immediately handed the clear water pearl to the mountain man. The mountain man smashed the clear water pearl in his palm and threw the broken pieces into the water. He then looked at the shocked Lu Chen. It's here. Chapter 14:19. Not long after, ripples appeared on the surface of the lake in the distance. A moment later, a huge fish head emerged from the water and looked at Lu Chen in shock. Benefactor? Little golden carp. Lu Chen exclaimed, why are you here? Old mountain, what are you? Lu Chen turned around and found that the man in the mountain had already left. This guy, a message came from the mountain in the distance. Lu Chen, you still have a long way to go. I hope we will have a chance to meet again. I won't treat you to a drink this time. It's too expensive. Lu Chen regretted that he didn't stop the man in the mountain and let him run away. However, since the little golden carp was here, he could only let the man in the mountain slip away. Benefactor, the clear water pearl I gave you was broken. I thought you were in danger, so I came. The little golden carp looked at Lu Chen. Fortunately, you are fine. Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. He had searched for 2 celestial domains. It turned out that the way to find the little golden carp was by his side. Seeing the little golden carp again, Lu Chen was very happy. Little golden carp, how have I been all these years? You said you had things to do. How are they now? The little golden carp swam to the shore. Lu Chen hurriedly said, Little golden carp, the water is shallow. However, when the little golden carp reached the shore, it suddenly plunged into the water. A moment later, a woman in a golden red dress walked out of the water. Even though she walked out of the water, her clothes and hair were dry. She stood barefoot on the surface of the water. The little golden carp smiled and said, Benefactor, I have taken care of my business. As for the matter of jumping through the dragon gate, it is not urgent now. Let nature take its course. Lu Chen stared at the beautiful woman in front of him with his eyes wide open. For a moment, he didn't know how to react. The man in the mountain said that the little golden carp and the suboriginator were of the same level. The suboriginator could change into anything, so it was normal for the little golden carp to change into a woman. However, although this woman had become beautiful, she lacked a sense of intimacy. During this time, little golden carp has missed Benefactor very much. To be able to see Benefactor again, little golden carp is very happy. This time, little golden carp can stay by your side. Little golden carp tilted her head and looked at Lu Chen with eyes full of expectation. Lu Chen blinked. Of course, no problem. It's just that, why don't you transform into a white tiger too? The little golden carp covered its face and laughed. Benefactor, I only have two forms. The human form and the golden carp form are both my original forms. I'm afraid I can't transform into a white tiger. Lu Chen scratched his head in embarrassment. With regards to the little golden carp following him, Lu Chen was naturally very happy. Recently, Rhubarb had not been able to wake up from his sleep. Lu Chen's treasure hunting business was at a standstill. Now was the right time for the little golden carp to join. Then I'll take you to meet my friend. Lu Chen got up and walked 2 steps. He noticed that the little golden carp did not follow him. He turned his head and looked at the little golden carp strangely. What's wrong? The little golden carp said embarrassedly, Benefactor, I can only go ashore recently. There are too many dangers on the shore. Usually, I'm in the water. Therefore, I can't walk steadily yet. It seemed that the little golden carp was still not familiar with its human form. Lu Chen held the little golden carp's hands and slowly taught it how to walk. Yi Fan quickly walked out of the cave. After the little critter came back, it knew that Yi Fan had lost its money in gambling. It was very anxious to repay the debt. Black Armor Senior Brother Wang was very kind. He arranged a job in the herb garden for the little critter. As long as it worked for less than 20 years, the little critter's debt would be paid off. These 2 days, Yi Fan was full of energy. He was full of hope for the future. When he passed by the lake, Yi Fan saw his master acting intimately with a young girl. He stopped behind a tree and secretly watched for a while. Oh my God, when did master have another female confidant? Yi Fan's eyes were full of envy. Master is indeed a Casanova. In Yi Fan's mind, his master's image was even higher. Later, the little golden carp finally walked more steadily. Lu Chen took the little golden carp back to the cave residence. Unfortunately, there was no one in the cave residence. After Jean Chanzi joined the group, the herbs in the herb garden and the resources in the cave residence could be consigned for sale. They immediately found a source of income. Especially the Black Armor King. He was the most interested in opening a store. He immediately went to inspect the store. Mu Long and the others heard that the price of resources had skyrocketed recently. It seemed that they saw a chance to turn things around. Now, the group had disappeared without a trace. But the little beast and the others were still cultivating in the cultivation room. The little golden carp would spend the most time with them in the future. Lu Chen simply took her to the battle pet cultivation room. Little golden carp, I'll take you to see Fluffy and the others first. Do you remember? It was Fluffy who pulled you up. They're all in the battle pet cultivation room. They've been cultivating very hard. As soon as they entered the cultivation room, Lu Chen saw Fluffy, Little Beast, and Originator wrestling. The little golden carp couldn't help but snicker. My savior, is this how they cultivate? Lu Chen held his forehead. These 3 guys, why haven't they made any progress day by day? What was more shocking was that the 3 of them had dragged Rhubarb, who was sleeping soundly, into the cultivation room and wrestled with him. Little Beast, Fluffy, Originator, Rhubarb is still cultivating. Can you let him go? Lu Chen shouted. The 3 beasts saw Lu Chen and ran over happily. Dad, Rhubarb is sleeping like a log. We're worried that his muscles will atrophy if he doesn't exercise for too long. So, we're helping him move around. He won't wake up anyway. Muscle atrophy. Helping Rhubarb move around. Lu Chen had black lines on his forehead. This reason actually sounds reasonable. Huh. Dad, who's this? The little beast noticed the little golden carp. The white tiger Originator sized up the little golden carp with its big eyes. Fluffy climbed onto Lu Chen's shoulder, stood up, and sniffed the little golden carp. Fluffy. Lu Qin warned in advance. Don't even think about it. Let me introduce you. This is the little golden carp. She'll be part of our family in the future. Don't bully her, okay? Are you also a battle pet? The little beast asked curiously. The little golden carp smiled. Sort of. But I can't fight before I jump through the dragon gate. I'm ashamed to be compared with you guys. The little beast said generously, it's okay. There's another one over there who can't fight. We'll protect you from now on. The one over there who couldn't fight was Rhubarb. The originator seemed to have sensed something. It walked to the little golden carp, lowered its head, and rubbed the little golden carp with its head to show its friendliness. You. The little golden carp seemed to have sensed something as well. It patted the originator's head and asked in surprise, are you, a spirit of nature? The originator nodded. The little golden carp smiled. I didn't know that I could meet my own kind. Please take care of me in the future. Lu Chen was finally relieved. He didn't expect that the little golden carp would become a part of them so quickly. Besides, the originator seemed to like the little golden carp. With its protection, the little beast and Fluffy wouldn't bully the little golden carp. Lu Chen finally had one more battle pet. Everyone was in a good mood. Little golden carp, you said that you're not good at fighting. What can you do? The little beast asked curiously. I have an ability. I can sense in advance where there are ownerless treasures that are nurtured by nature. What? You have such an ability? Then, isn't your ability more powerful than Rhubarb's? It seems that Rhubarb is going to retire. Lu Chen was silent for a moment. Then, he suddenly asked, Little golden carp, do you know where the most treasures are in the seventh layer heavens? I want those powerful treasures, preferably more than one of them. The little golden carp thought for a moment and said, my savior, the only place you're talking about is the Hongmeng divine tree. Lu Chen opened his eyes wide. That was the answer he wanted. Chapter 1420. The mountain people did not tell Lu Chen where the great Mongol tree was, but they helped him find the little golden carp. Little golden carp, do you know where the great Mongol tree is? Lu Chen anxiously asked. The great Mongol tree is everywhere, it runs through the entire 9 heavens. However, what benefactor is looking for should be the main trunk that can nurture treasures. Then, you'll have to go to the 8 heavens. 8 heavens. Lu Chen's heart tightened. To find Mu Sheng, he must find the main consciousness of the great Mongol tree. In other words, he must go to the 8 heavens as soon as possible. Originally, Lu Chen did not plan to go to the 8 heavens so early. After all, he could return to Earth at any time. He also wanted to spend more time with Yao. However, from the letter that Mu Sheng left him, he could feel that Mu Sheng might be in danger. No matter what, Mu Sheng was Yao's mother. For the sake of his child, he must go to the 8 heavens as soon as possible. Moreover, his father was also in the 9 heavens heaven-penetrating prison. The crisis of the human race had been resolved. He could not stay here any longer. That night, Lu Chen told his friends about his decision to go to the 8 heavens. Master, we just came to the 7 heavens and you're leaving already? Xiao Zhan's face was bitter. You should at least stay here for a year or so. We still want to learn more from you. That's right. Skyfall, Wuxia and the rest should be coming up soon. Chu Tian said. A year's time is actually nothing to us. Mu Long also said, although the human race is safe now, the situation is not yet stable. I think you should stay here for a while. Li Shan also said, Chen, you've worked so hard these years. You also need to rest. Yi Fan reluctantly said, Master, stay here for a while. I still have many questions to ask you. Everyone was trying to persuade Lu Chen to stay. Lu Chen also did not want to leave the seven heavens so soon. However, time waits for no man. Lu Chen sighed. I have something urgent to do. I can't delay it any longer. Since Lu Chen had already made up his mind, no one could stop Lu Chen. Lu Chen realized that Jiu, and Ling Long hadn't said a word when he mentioned that he was leaving. When everyone left, Jiu, was the first to leave. Ling Long, on the other hand, didn't leave. Only after everyone had left did Ling Long look up at Lu Chen. Lu Chen, are you going to look for Mu Sheng? Lu Chen looked at Ling Long in surprise. There were not many people who knew about Mu Sheng, and Ling Long was one of them. However, he had only said that he had an urgent matter to attend to, but he had not said what it was. How did Ling Long know? How did you know? Ling Long sighed. When we were in the Myriad World Maze, Mu Sheng gave me a cultivation method to replace the Ice Heart technique. Do you still remember? Lu Chen nodded. Of course he remembered. Not only had Mu Sheng brought Ling Long out of the Myriad World Maze, but she had also given her a cultivation method. Actually, at that time, she asked me to take good care of you. Ling Long sighed. Later, when I found out about you and Miss Jiu, I realized that I wasn't the best person to take care of you. Lu Chen didn't know what to say. Mu Sheng said that if you want to go to the eighth heaven one day, I must stop you. Lu Chen frowned. Why? Although no one from the human race has entered the eighth heaven for thousands of years, there are records of it in my race. The eighth heaven is the land of the gods. The gods comprehend the heavenly Tao and control the three realms. Their strength is extremely terrifying. Even immortal supremacies are no different from mortals in their eyes, let alone you, a mere mortal. Lu Chen snorted coldly. It's just a god. When I first came to the seventh heaven, didn't all the immortals think that I'm not worthy of entering? It's not that simple. Ling Long said anxiously. The gods can control the fate of mortals. Take battle as an example. Their physical bodies are not like mortals or immortals, which are formed by the fourth dimension. Lu Chen frowned. Ah. Not the fourth dimension. Then what is it? They have another ability called Heavenly Tao Divine Power. Ling Long said. The qualitative change at the end of the immortal path is this kind of power. Once the Heavenly Tao Divine Power is used, the mortal body will suffer 100,000 times the damage. The gods will turn the mortal into ashes with a snap of their fingers. Lu Chen couldn't help but frown. Heavenly Tao Divine Power. Although he was a human emperor, he was still immortal. To say that the gods could kill him with a snap of their fingers was an exaggeration. However, if the damage he suffered was increased by 100,000 times, he might not even be able to defeat an ordinary immortal supremacy, let alone a god who had divine skills like the obliterating sky sword or the mysterious heaven six-path slash. The gods are not divided by race. However, if a mortal enters the divine realm, he will definitely be punished by the gods. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. That time in the Myriad World Maze, he and Mu Sheng had saved Yao. After that, Mu Sheng had rescued Ling Long, and this was what Mu Sheng had said to Ling Long at that time. In other words, Mu Sheng had already foreseen his fate at that time. One could imagine how much risk Mu Sheng had taken to help him after that. Some sacrifices could not be seen. Fortunately, Lu Chen already knew all this. Ling Long, thank you for telling me all this. However, no matter if it's a mountain of swords, a sea of fire, or an abyss of purgatory, I have to go. Not only for Mu Sheng, but also to save my father and find my mother's whereabouts. Ling Long said sadly. Lu Chen. Why must you continue? Can't you stop for the sake of the people you are worried about? It's in the seventh heaven. Now that the rules of the seventh heaven have been rewritten, here, we have a cave abode, friends, and, there are people who care about you. Lu Chen took a deep breath. Ling Long, in order to find the answer, I have already walked for nearly 1,000 years. Just when I'm about to find the answer, how can I stop? Moreover, although you are safe now, there are still people waiting for me. They are enduring endless pain because of me. How can I live a peaceful life here in peace? I'm sorry. After saying that, Lu Chen turned around and left the stone room. After Lu Chen left, Ling Long was already sobbing. She still remembered the first time they met, that silly boy had anxiously asked her for an information card. A few years later, they went through the myriad world maze together. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen had become the strongest existence in the seventh heaven. However, the distance between them had also grown further and further. Ling Long closed her eyes as 2 streams of hot tears fell. Ling Long took out the ice heart technique that had been sealed for a long time. Looking at this mental cultivation technique, Ling Long felt as if a knife was being twisted in her heart. Mu Sheng, I'm sorry, I couldn't stop him. No one can stop him. He is destined not to stop for anyone. He is destined to find the final answer. Thank you for your mental cultivation technique, but let the ice heart technique help me forget about him. In the middle of the night, Lu Chen placed 2 storage rings on the table. These were large amounts of resources left behind in the first 2 levels of the extraterrestrial Divine Devil Palace. Uncle Li Shang and the others should be able to use them in the future. The immortal spirit grotto heaven was left to Uncle Li Shang. This was their home. After sighing softly, Lu Chen brought the 5 beasts and the 4 earth puppets out of the cave abode. It was pitch black outside the cave. It was as dark as the road ahead. Little beast, little furball, little Genesis, little golden carp, big, rhubarb was still sleeping. This time, Lu Chen had to bring it along. Xian Ji, let's go. Lu Chen said firmly. Chapter 14:21. Now that Lu Chen still did not know how to enter the 8th layer of heaven, he did not have the heart to ask Ling Long. When leaving the immortal spirit grotto heaven, Lu Chen used the myriad world sound transmission talisman. When he arrived at the border of the human race's immortal domain, Guing was already there waiting for him. Guing, you came so quickly. Guing smiled. Immortal Sovereign did not let me go back at that time and told me to stay in the demon race's immortal domain. If you need any help, I can rush over immediately. Lu Chen was a little surprised. Although Saint Martial Immortal Sovereign could not represent the human race to participate in the war, he was indeed very helpful to him. Why are you going to the myriad spirit race this time? To ask about going to the 8th layer of heaven. Guing looked at Lu Chen, shook his head and sighed, you brat, 5 years ago you were about the same as me, but now. I really don't know how you cultivate. Let's go, I'll take you there. Saint Martial Grotto Heaven, Saint Martial Immortal Sovereign frowned slightly. Lu Chen, are you sure you want to go to the 8th layer of heaven? You've finally gained a foothold in the 7th layer of heaven. Moreover, even if the myriad races have already signed the immortal contract, wouldn't it be safer for you to cultivate here for a while before going to the 8th layer of heaven? Lu Chen shook his head, I know, but I'm afraid my friend can't wait. I still don't know what happened to her. Saint Martial Immortal Sovereign nodded, alright, since you've already decided, I won't say anything more. Lu Chen asked, Immortal Sovereign, may I ask how to enter the 8th layer of heaven? It won't be another heavenly tribulation, right? Saint Martial Immortal Sovereign stood up and said, if a mortal and an immortal are separated by a ravine, then from an immortal to a god, it's a heavenly moat. Saint Martial Immortal Sovereign's first sentence made Lu Chen's expression turn serious. The 7th layer of heaven has no heavenly domain boss, with heavenly tribulation as the boundary, separating immortals and mortals. It's the same for the 8th layer of heaven. There's no heavenly domain boss, but there's an extremely severe test. This test is different from any other test in the past. What test is it? Lu Chen frowned. This trial is called Tao Seeking and Apotheosis. The Venerable Saint Martial Immortal turned around and looked at Lu Chen. In the Tower of Babel, there are a total of 81 powerful war souls left behind by the gods. The strength of these war souls is far inferior to the gods' true body, but they are far superior to ordinary celestial venerables. There are countless immortal venerables in the myriad of races, and there is no lack of experts among them. However, there isn't even one deity conferred God among 100,000 people. From this, you can infer the strength of these war souls. Even if you face tens of thousands of celestial seniors on the celestial venerables Tiantai, you have to remember that the godly battle spirit is stronger than any celestial seniors you've met. In short, the war soul of a deity is enough to shake the deities of all races. The challenger has to block or evade one attack from each of the 81 deity war souls, 81 attacks, and the power increases with each level. The final level of the Divine Seal Altar is the all-out attack of the battle soul. Although theoretically, you can evade this attack, the attacks of the deity war souls often have no blind spots. With our strength, we can't completely evade it. We can only reduce the damage as much as possible. How much damage can be reduced depends on the individual's strength. A total of 81 trials, step by step on the Divine Seal Altar, and finally get your own title. Lu Chen nodded. If others can pass, I have confidence too. The Venerable Saint Martial Immortal shook his head. Lu Chen, if you were a 9-star celestial venerables, I would think so too. However, the problem is that you are not a celestial venerables, but a human sovereign. Starting from a genuine immortal to a 9-star true immortal, 9-star Sengoku, 9-star celestial venerables, there are a total of 27 immortal paths. At the end of these 2 immortal paths is the heavenly divine power. Although the celestial venerables have not formed the heavenly divine power, our physique has changed. At least, we will not be restrained by the heavenly divine power like mortals. No matter how strong you are, you have not opened the immortal path. You are still a mortal, and the heavenly divine power can cause damage to a mortal's body 100,000 times. At this point, even Guing, who was listening by the side, was about to despair. Each god war soul could shake the immortals of the 7th layer heaven. However, Lu Chen's mortal body actually made him suffer 100,000 times the damage. Without a doubt, the 8th layer heaven was not prepared for Lu Chen. Lu Chen took a deep breath. 100,000 times the damage, could he block it? Emptiness of gods and demons' arm. He was afraid that he would not be able to withstand it. The only possibility was to reduce the damage as much as possible, minimizing the damage he received, and then block it with emptiness of gods and demons' arm or inverse soul roaming dragon. The Venerable Saint Martial Immortal said, Lu Chen, the god war souls can be said to be invincible, but if you want to pass, you must remember to make good use of 2 points. What 2 points? Lu Chen asked. First, time. Every time you pass a level on the Divine Seal Altar, you can cultivate for 10 years. These 10 years can be used to heal and improve your strength. You don't have to pass the 81 God War Souls in one go. Lu Chen frowned. Time was what he lacked the most now. Second, assistance. Lu Chen, do you know why venerable immortals in the 7th layer heaven have so many followers? Lu Chen asked strangely, isn't it to help manage the businesses under their name and develop their forces? The Venerable Saint Martial Immortal smiled slightly, that's just on the surface. The most fundamental reason is actually related to Tao seeking and apotheosis. During Tao seeking and apotheosis, venerable immortals can bring their followers along to pass the level. They can weaken the strength of the God War Soul's attack in advance. The more people there are, the stronger their strength, and the better the weakening effect. However, each of them can only help you once. The 81 Divine Seal Altar cannot have more than 1,000 helpers per level. The total number of helpers cannot exceed 81,000, and their strength cannot exceed Sengoku. If there is a venerable immortal helping you, you will be regarded as a challenger. Moreover, you must remember that it must be someone you trust. Otherwise, once they are not united, not only will they not be able to weaken the attack, it will also backfire. Lu Chen frowned even more. Helpers? Do I have helpers? The moment he insisted on leaving, he had probably hurt the hearts of many people who cared about him the most. Lone Quan, Huan Ting and Lien Hua can't help you. They are already venerable immortals. I will help you. I am not an venerable immortal yet. Guing suddenly said from the side. Lu Chen smiled faintly, okay, thank you very much. Venerable immortal, where is heaven-reaching tower? It's at the center of the 7th layer heaven, God-ascending peak. You can bring Guing along. You can trust him. All right. Thank you, Venerable Saint Martial Immortal, for all these years. Venerable Saint Martial Immortal said, I should be the one thanking you. You have helped me do something I couldn't do. At this moment, any more thanks would be superfluous. Lu Chen nodded towards Venerable Saint Martial Immortal and then looked towards Guing. Gu Xing, I will still have to trouble you. Guing smiled, don't mention it. Venerable Immortal, I will bring Lu Chen over. In front of the God-ascending peak, Guing shook his head. He looked at Lu Chen with a helpless expression, that can't be. Lu Chen, I will definitely help you. But you didn't say that it would be just me. What about your friends? How can a person like you not have any friends? I don't believe it. Lu Chen smiled, I have a few friends, but, they don't want me to leave. I snuck out. They will probably blame me and won't help me. Guing frowned, then why do you still want to go? Did you hear Venerable Immortal's words clearly? 100,000 times the damage. 100,000 times. Not 10 times. Lu Chen took a deep breath, I can only think of a way to avoid the damage as much as possible. Guing held his forehead, how much damage can I help you reduce by myself? Forget it, I will just go for a year or so anyway. Since you have decided, I will go with you. Lu Chen smiled and patted Gu Ying's shoulder, Guing, I will remember this favor of yours. The two strode towards the heaven-reaching tower. The 7th floor of the heaven-reaching tower. However, at this moment, a resentful voice suddenly came from behind. Big brother Lu Chen, it's fine that you abandoned us, but you didn't even call us for the ascension of the gods. Aren't you a bit too much? That's right, Master is really too much this time. Could it be that Master doesn't even treat us as his own people? This is too infuriating. Luckily Venerable Immortal Ziling told us about the ascension of the gods. Otherwise, we would have missed it. Lu Chen turned his head and suddenly saw a crowd of people in the mountains. Jiu, Mu Long, Feng Wu, Yi Fan, Xiao Zhan, Chu Tian, Li Shang, Jin Luan, Ziling, a group of venerable immortals, Sengoku, everywhere in the mountains, there were millions of human immortals, covering the sky. Guing jumped in fright. As the only alien race, he suddenly felt a lot of pressure. Hey, Lu Chen, are these the few friends you mentioned? Chapter 1422. Unknowingly, Lu Chen's friends had spread all over the world. Jiu came before Lu Chen, her eyes full of resentment. You didn't even say a word before leaving. Don't you know that no matter what decision you make, I'll support you? Yi Fan and the others also came over. Master, I'm also a Sengoku now, I can help you. Xiao Zhan sighed. Sigh, senior brother Black Armor Wang and I just came not long ago, we can't help Master this time, but we'll support Master spiritually. Li Shang and the others came before Lu Chen. Chen, you really didn't tell us about such a big thing, luckily we made it in time. At Si Ling's command, all the human Sengoku stepped forward. It seemed that the mobile army's training was not in vain. More than 20 immortal supremes came before Lu Chen. Ziling said, Lu Chen, it's a pity that we can't help you. However, the number of immortal supremes in the human race is indeed far less than the other races, but correspondingly, the number of Sengoku is not much less than the other races. 50,000 Sengoku will do their best to help you pass the tower, even if they have to spend hundreds of years in the tower. A Sengoku came over and said, "Mad God, do you still remember me?" Lu Chen looked at this person. It was a Sengoku from a certain world in the second wave of the Myriad Races Immortal Army's flag war. Great Tower Sengoku. That person was especially excited because Lu Chen remembered his immortal title. He cupped his fists and said, "Mad God, you saved countless humans with your own strength. We are not people who pity the state of the universe, but among the people you saved, we are. We can't thank you enough, we can only pledge our lives to help you become a god." The surrounding Sengoku also said, "We will pledge our lives to help Mad God become a god." Lu Chen pursed his lips, looked at the human immortals, and cupped his fists. "Thank you, everyone." Ziling smiled and said, "Lu Chen, if you can become a god this time, you will be the first human to do so in recorded history. I've already arranged the people for you. 80 to 90% of the human race's Sengoku have come, a total of 52,441 people. Every level of the Divine Seal Altar has 1,000 people, and the power of the Sengoku increases with each level. I've also arranged these Sengoku according to their strength. They will be left for the last 5 levels of the Divine Seal Altar. For the first 28 levels, only true immortals can help you. However, most of them are true immortals with 9 stars tribulation. A total of 81,000 people are all here. It can be said that this is the strongest deployment of the human race. However, you are in the Renhuang realm, and the deity War Soul also has the divine power of the heavenly path. The deity opened the celestial path, so the impact is not great, but you still have to face extremely terrifying attacks. Remember, try your best to avoid the center of their attack. Lu Chen took a deep breath and nodded. Senior Ziling, thank you. If it were any other time, the attacks that Sengoku withstood against 1,000 true immortals would not be much to Lu Chen. However, Lu Chen now had to endure 100,000 times the damage. Every bit of damage reduced was extremely important to Lu Chen. Guing smiled and came to Lu Chen's side. Looking at him, he was also relieved for Lu Chen. Lu Chen, I've never seen a Celestial Prime receive such treatment as you. Guing then said to Ziling, Celestial Prime Ziling, I'm Guing from the Myriad Spirit Clan. I'm about to break through to the Sengoku realm. Count me in for the last level. Please adjust it. Ziling nodded. Gu Ying's strength was needless to say. He could easily defeat Sengoku in the human race. Naturally, he would be placed at the end. It did not take long to adjust a person's position. However, the 7 Tribulation 9-star true immortal who was squeezed out was a little depressed. Lu Chen, we're ready here. What about you? The Celestial Primes looked at Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled. Then, let's enter the tower. The space on the 7th floor of the sky-reaching tower had already exceeded Lu Chen's imagination. In front of him was a starry sky that felt boundless. In the middle of the starry sky, there was a huge staircase suspended in the starry sky. Although it was called a staircase, it was not really a flight of stairs. The range of the staircase was extremely large. It was just that from afar, it looked like a flight of stairs. At the end of the 81st flight of stairs was a portal. There was a wooden platform in front of the portal. It was unknown what was on it. At this moment, Lu Chen's gaze was fixed on the statues standing on each flight of stairs. These statues were tall and mighty. Their expressions were dignified and detached from the world. Big Brother Lu Chen. Jiu seemed a little nervous. Just looking at these statues made one feel a sense of reverence. These were the war souls of gods. The war souls of gods. Lu Chen took a deep breath and patted Jiu's hand. He nodded at her and told her not to worry. Then, Lu Chen turned and said, Everyone, thank you for your trouble. 1,000 nine-star true immortals and Lu Chen arrived at the first level of the apotheosis altar. When they stepped onto the first level of the apotheosis altar, the statue in charge of guarding this place moved. This statue did not look human. It was about 10 meters tall and held a magic subduing all. Its eyes were round and its voice was like a bell. Who is the apotheosis stage? Lu Chen took a step forward. Me. The statue lowered its eyes slightly and glanced at Lu Chen. Mortal human emperor. That's right. Do you know that the helper will not die, but the person who enters the tower will turn into ashes? Lu Chen nodded. I know. The statue finally moved. It stopped talking and stood in front of Lu Chen with the magic subduing all in its hand. It seemed like it was about to attack. 1,000 true immortals stood in front of Lu Chen and activated their status enhancement skills, battle puppets, talisman arrays, spirit shields, protective shields. We must block more attacks for Mad God. Fight. If Mad God doesn't become a god, who else can? I will not back down from this battle. Lu Chen also activated all his status enhancement skills. He did not dare to be careless when facing the 100,000 times damage. Lu Chen did not summon his battle pets. After all, they were his battle pets. They would definitely have to take the 100,000 times damage. Earth Puppet. Xian Ji suddenly realized that he was standing in front of Lu Chen on the 7th level of the Tower of Babel with 3 of his companions. Apotheosis Altar. Xian Ji was shocked. Lu Chen is going to enter the Apotheosis Altar. Once Lin Fan becomes a god, he would never be able to make a comeback. Lu Chen, don't expect me to block the attacks for you. Xian Ji said angrily. I'm not on your side. Let me go back. Lu Chen smiled. You're a puppet. There's no such thing as being on my side. You'll be the first line of defense later. Xian Ji felt like dying. He was made into a puppet by Lu Chen. Not only did he have to come up with strategies, but he also had to block the attacks for him at critical moments. Help Lu Chen become a god. However, he could not control his body at all. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only stand in front of Lu Chen. At this moment, the God's War Soul had already launched its attack. Godly skill, Demon Slayer. Lu Chen thought that the first level of the Apotheosis Altar would not be strong. But after seeing the skill, Lu Chen was shocked. The spiritual energy was so strong that it felt like the sky was falling and the earth was collapsing. The ferocious spiritual energy storm rushed towards the thousands of true immortals. The thousands of true immortals spat out a mouthful of blood the moment they came into contact with the skill. Chapter 1423. The final level of the level 81 Apotheosis Altar was a full-powered attack from the God's War Soul. The power of the first level was already so terrifying. Half of the 1,000 nine-star true immortals, the most outstanding true immortals of the human race, were sent flying. Hold on. Hold on for as long as you can. Someone shouted. Just as this person finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. The remaining half of the true immortals could not hold on for more than 2 seconds. If not for the God's War Soul, they would have been killed instantly. However, after being weakened by the 1,000 true immortals, the power of the God's War Soul's attack was reduced to 30%. But the moment the ferocious spiritual power was about to attack Lu Chen, the spiritual power suddenly became abnormally violent. It's the effect of the heaven's godly power. Gu Ying and the rest became nervous. A god could control the fate of mortals. With the heaven's godly power, the power of exorcism increased tremendously. Now, it was finally Lu Chen's turn to take on the attack. Xian Ji felt like dying when he saw the 100,000 times damage coming towards him. Why did he have to suffer like this? However, he still moved his body. The 4 earth puppets activated their combined skill, Immemorial Earth Shield. The Immemorial Earth Shield could disperse the opponent's attack to the ground, which was the stairs of the Apotheosis altar. After 3 seconds of stalemate, the Earth Golem could no longer hold on. "Oh no, my earth puppets are going to fall apart," Qian-Ji cried. At this moment, a blurry figure flashed past Qian-Ji and a dark red spear landed on the exorcist. Void Attack, Void Destroyer Spear, Heavenly Rage Spear. "Back off!" Lu Chen shouted. The earth puppets quickly backed off. The 2 terrifying spiritual energies collided at this moment. A ring was activated in the middle of the Apotheosis altar. It exploded in the universe like a planet being destroyed. A moment later, people saw the man in the Pisces suit land steadily on the ground. He passed. Guing opened his eyes wide. "Oh my god, that guy took the God's War Soul's attack head-on. Mad God is too scary. That's 100,000 times damage." Lu Chen gasped for breath and looked at his trembling left hand. The collision just now was too violent, and it shook his left hand until it was somewhat numb. However, this was the weakest test after all. The attack of the deity War Soul could not reach the true strength of a deity. Otherwise, the Celestial Prime would not be able to enter the 8th heaven. On the level 81 Divine Seal altar, if every level increased by 1%, then the first level was only a fifth of the final level. After being weakened by 80%, even if it was 100,000 times stronger, Lu Chen would still be able to block it. Of course, those true immortals who were assisting him played a huge role in being able to withstand this attack. Seeing Lu Chen withstand its attack, the statue no longer attacked. Expressionlessly, it turned to the side and opened the path to the 2nd level of the Divine Seal altar. You can cultivate here for a maximum of 10 years, or you can continue to challenge it. Lu Chen directly stepped onto the 2nd level of the Divine Seal altar. Mu Long rushed out from the crowd and pulled Lu Chen back. "Lu Chen, aren't you going to rest?" Lu Chen shook his head. "I don't have much time. I can withstand this level of attack. Let's go to the next level." On the 2nd level of the Divine Seal altar, there was a dwarf deity in front of Lin Fan. However, he was only shorter than the other deity statues. He was about 4 to 5 meters tall and looked quite sturdy. The 2nd batch of helpers quickly stood in front of Lu Chen, forming the first line of defense. It was also the most important line of defense to weaken the deity War Soul. Then, it was Qian-Ji and the other 4 puppets, Divine Skill, Sky Battle Axe. A terrifying spiritual power suddenly blasted into the support team. "We must block it. The more we block it, the less pressure Mad God will face." Everyone knew that the first line of defense was very important. Moreover, this batch of true immortals was stronger than the previous batch. However, none of them could withstand the Sky Battle Axe for more than 2 seconds. However, they had also weakened the attack to the greatest extent. From the strength of the spiritual force, it has been weakened by 70%. Guing frowned. This result was already very good. However, he also knew that the next 100,000 times stronger attack would be even more terrifying. Under Qian-Ji's lead, the earth puppets could only block half of the attack. However, this time, Lu Chen did not directly clash with the Sky Battle Axe. God-Slaying Spear, Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon. Lu Chen directly used Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon to negate most of the attack. This level was even easier than the first level of the Divine Seal altar. Feng Wu frowned. Lu Chen should have used Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon just now. Mu Long said. He wanted to confirm the strength of the opponent's attack. Now, it seems that he has already figured out the strength of the opponent's attack. If he used Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon now, he would be more confident. Guing looked at Mu Long. This guy's analysis was quite good. Mu Long, right? I am Guing. Guing, Mulong has heard of Sengoku's great name. Thank you, Guing, for your help this time. Since Guing, Sengoku, and Lu Chen are friends, then you are also my friend. If you need my help in the future, just let me know. Mulong said. Guing smiled. I knew it. With Lu Chen's personality, it would be strange if he did not have any friends. Brother Mulong, you don't have to be so polite. The two of them seemed to admire each other. Moreover, they were both Lu Chen's friends. There was a sense of closeness between them. They also exchanged contact details. At the same time, Lu Chen had already passed through 9 levels. When he reached the 10th level of the Divine Seal Altar, the mermaid god's strength had increased tremendously. With one move, Wrath of the Sea God, he sent all the support troops flying. This guy seems to have undergone a small qualitative change. Lu Chen immediately realized. This time, the support troops had only weakened the damage by 50%. The earth puppet could no longer help Lu Chen block the damage. Lu Chen immediately recalled the earth puppet. Tiger descends the mountain. Attacking the void, Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. After weakening the opponent's attack with thousands of sword chi, Lu Chen used Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon. The moment the god-slaying spear collided with the opponent's sword chi, Lu Chen felt an overwhelming pressure. He tried his best to twist the god-slaying spear and finally diverted the force. The sword chi changed direction and blasted onto the Divine Seal Altar. Only the Divine Seal Altar was made of some unknown material that could withstand such an attack. However, the surging aftershocks still spread out in the starry sky. For a moment, the wind raged, and the support troops could not help but retreat. The mermaid god glanced at the person who blocked Wrath of the Sea God and stepped aside. A mortal human emperor can actually reach the 9th level. Interesting, you can cultivate here, or you can continue to challenge them. Lu Chen took a deep breath and adjusted the restless spiritual power in his body. Starting from the 9th level, the damage had increased by another level. The following challenges would definitely be more terrifying. Lu Chen wiped a drop of blood from the corner of his mouth and snorted. This is only the 9th level. It's still early. After saying that, Lu Chen resolutely walked to the next level. Chapter 1424. 9th level, 18th level, 27th level. Lu Chen's pressure began to increase. However, Lu Chen did not stop. On the conferred god altar, Lu Chen crossed one step after another. The human deities were the weakest among the 10,000 races, but they used all their means to help Lu Chen become a god. It's hard to imagine that Lu Chen can still hold on until now under 100,000 times the power. This guy's strength has already surpassed the 7th level, Guing said. Mulong also said, if not for the heavenly divine power, Lu Chen might even be able to fight with a god. Guing shook his head. Brother Mulong, you're too idealistic. Since the heavenly divine power exists, this is the ability of a god. There's no such thing as if. His future path will only be more difficult. Mulong's expression was solemn, and he felt that it was unfair for his brother. The heavenly divine power is too overbearing. Unless Lu Chen can activate an ability comparable to the heavenly divine power, his enemies are too terrifying. As he spoke, the level 48 God War Soul's sword energy swept towards Lu Chen. Tiger descends the mountain. Void attack, Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Void attack, Suppressive Fire. God's Descent. Void Destruction Spear, Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon. Now, it was not so easy for Lu Chen to block the God War Soul's attack. He used a large number of strong attacks to weaken the opponent's attack, dodged the attack with his movement technique, and finally used the Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon. This set of moves flowed smoothly without any hesitation. In terms of combat, Lu Chen could be said to have reached perfection. Level 45 Conferred God Altar, passed. Lu Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stepped on to the next level. After an unknown amount of time, there were only 1,000 people left in the supporting army. This also meant that Lu Chen had reached the last level of the conferred God altar. Although this was the final step of the Divine Seal altar, the 81 level of the Divine Seal altar increased one's strength step by step. Since Lu Chen was able to resist the 80th level of the Divine Seal altar and even had the strength to continue fighting, then by all reasoning this final step shouldn't be a problem at all. Gu Ying and Mu Long, the two Sengoku, had arrived. This time, they would help Lu Chen withstand the final blow. Gu Ying turned around to look at Lu Chen. Lu Chen's eyes were bloodshot. He ignored Gu Ying. Since the first few stages, Lu Chen had already entered the inner demon state so that he could activate the Great Void form as soon as possible. Under Lu Chen's bloodthirsty state, he had already expended a lot of energy to control his mind. Solitary Shadow had a lot to say, but unfortunately, now was not the time. Solitary Shadow whispered, "Lu Chen, you've already done your best in the previous floor. However, you don't have to worry. The attacks on this floor are only slightly stronger than those on the previous floor. Moreover, our helpers are also stronger than those from before. You should be able to hold on." Lu Chen might not be able to hear what he was saying, but this did not affect Gu Ying from bidding farewell to his good friend. "I wonder what kind of title you will get. It will be difficult to see you in the future. Brother, take care." After saying that, Gu Ying turned around and stared at the last deity war soul. He shouted, "Everyone, we can't help Mad God with this final blow. We will never be able to repay Mad God's kindness. This time, we will help Mad God with our lives. Mad God will definitely pass this time. Everyone, let's work harder." Mu Long took a deep breath, and a trace of reluctance flashed across his eyes. "Lu Chen, I know you have to go on. However, if possible, remember to come back and visit your old friends. This is all that I, Mu Long, can do for you." The 1,000 Sengoku unleashed their terrifying spiritual energy at the same time, forming a thick and heavy defense. Qian Ji stood behind these people anxiously. It can't be that the real kid passed. At this moment, the evil spirit race's deity war soul had already swung his sword. A deity war soul could shock tens of thousands of races, and this attack was at 100% of its power. With a loud bang, over 1,000 celestial kings were sent flying by the impact of the collision. Lu Chen's eyes widened. How could this attack be so powerful? The previous level was not so terrifying. The deity war soul could still weaken the attack by 30%. However, this time, the 1,000 Sengoku were only able to weaken the attack by less than 5%. This increase in strength. There was something wrong. This attack was definitely not just 1% stronger than the previous level. It was almost 6 times stronger. Those Sengoku who were sent flying, as long as they were still conscious, hurriedly propped themselves up. How could it be so strong? Something is wrong. Not good. Mad God was already at his peak state in the previous level. This time, the attack is more than 6 times stronger. Mad God won't be able to withstand it. At this moment, when everyone thought that there was no more deity war soul to help Lu Chen weaken the attack, they realized that there were still 3 figures in the strong light, struggling to hold on. Gu Ying, Mu Long, and Feng Wu. After holding on for a while, Feng Wu spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Gu Ying's face was already ferocious. The huge pressure made him feel like an ant against an elephant. In the spiritual energy storm, his long hair flew and his clothes were torn. He didn't even have the ability to turn his head. He could only resist the attack with all his might. Next to him, Mu Long was bleeding from his 7 orifices. They obviously felt that something was wrong with this move. If this move was allowed to pass, Lu Chen, who had suffered 100,000 times the damage, might die. Mu Long, hold on. Gu Ying said with all his strength. Hold on a little longer, Lu Chen will have more chance of survival. No. Mu Long gritted his teeth, his face ferocious. His shirt was torn, and all his muscles and blood vessels were bulging. Ah! Gu Ying roared. Just because Lu Chen isn't a celestial supremacy? Why are you doing this to him? If you want to kill my brother, you'll have to do it over my dead body. Gu Ying's blood vessels exploded, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Crack! Mu Long's arms were broken. He directly controlled his long sword to resist this incomparably ferocious sword chi. Seeing this, Lu Chen, who was in the state of bloodlust, suddenly had green smoke billowing out of his eyes. He roared, "Get out of my way!" Virtual form, extreme ice flame sword. Virtual form, endless dawn. Little beast, little furball, little originator. Endless dawn was a group attack, but the god-destroying void spear technique varied from person to person. Lu Chen could change Heaven's Fury Spear to a single target attack, and Lu Chen could also change Endless Daybreak to a single target attack. He could combine the terrifying attack of Endless Dawn into a single point. When Lu Chen arrived, 4 figures protected Gu Ying and Mu Long, who were still alive. As soon as Qian Ji saved Gu Ying and Mu Long, he hurriedly turned around. The man in the black and white fish robe with demonized arms attacked the terrifying sword energy with his sword and spear. Would he die? Would he? With a loud boom, a dazzling halo exploded on the 81st level of the Seal God altar, shaking the universe. Chapter 1425. The remaining 1,000 people stared at the apotheosis platform. It was a mess. Apart from the 4 earth puppets, there were 4 human figures and 2 giant beasts lying on the ground. No one knew if they were dead or alive. In addition to the 1,000 people who were injured by the shockwave earlier. The evil spirit race's God War Soul had immobilized 1,000 people with one move. Fortunately, after the God-fighting soul swung his sword, he did not continue to attack. He just stood there, expressionless. The 4 people on the ground, Lu Chen, Lone Shadow, Mu Long, and Little Beast, did not move at all. Little Furball was covered in blood. Little Beast had been forced out of its original body. Qian Ji looked at the people lying beside him. If not for the fact that he could not control the earth puppet's body, this would have been a rare opportunity to kill Lu Chen. After a long time, Mu Long was the first to wake up. He looked around and nudged Lone Shadow beside him. Lone Shadow. Lone Shadow replied weakly. Luckily, he was not dead. Mu Long saw Lu Chen again. This guy had been forced out of the inner demon state. He was covered in blood and lying on the ground motionlessly. Even the void god-destroying spear and the limitless demon god sword were beside him. Lu Chen. Mu Long's arms were broken. He could only use his shoulders to support himself as he crawled over. He turned Lu Chen over. Lu Chen. Lu Chen coughed a few times and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Lu Chen opened his eyes slightly and looked at Mu Long. He suddenly laughed. You're not dead. Where's Lone Shadow? Cough, 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 cough. Seeing Lu Chen speak, Mu Long finally felt relieved. He sat up with difficulty and leaned against Lu Chen. That guy is not dead either. Not far away, Lone Shadow slowly opened his eyes. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He crawled to Lu Chen's side, grabbed Mu Long's shoulder, and sat up weakly. His head was on the ground as he said weakly, Lu Chen, so, from now on, half of your title will be given to us, cough cough cough. Lu Chen looked at the 3 beasts beside him. Xiao Yuan's body had already stabilized. The little beast opened its eyes, and the little furball was licking the blood on its body. Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. I can give you all the titles. Hey, Lu Chen, what do you think your title will be? I think lunatic is more suitable for you. You pounced on him when he dealt 100,000 damage. Do you have any brains? Mu Long spat. Isn't that so? That's 100,000 times damage. I find it strange that he's not dead yet. Lu Chen said, who's brainless? I first used the triple door to teleport the Buddha body avatar before I went up. Cough, cough, cough. This is called being rough but subtle, do you know? Mu Long took a deep breath and stood up shakily. How can you be so careless? I think you don't care about the consequences. Standing there and looking at the path they had taken, Mu Long took a deep breath and said, Lu Chen, now I finally understand why you're a 4-time level 12 heavenly tribulation. You're treated as a VIP on every floor of the Tower of Babel. I'm really unlucky to be your friend. Guing took an elixir, adjusted his breath for a moment, and stood up as well. That's right. Mu Long, you don't know that he didn't want to pass the Tower of Babel at first. At that time, I was ready to guard his body. Lu Chen could only smile helplessly at his two friends' compliments. Well, no matter whether I can become a god or not, at least I've been to the apotheosis altar. Guing took a deep breath, reached out his hand, and smiled at Lu Chen. The level 80 apotheosis altar, 100,000 times damage. Lu Chen, congratulations. You finally passed the apotheosis altar. Lu Chen held Gu Ying's hand tightly, but Guing couldn't stand steadily and hurriedly grabbed Mu Long. Mu Long wailed, my hand. Don't you know that I lost an arm? Damn, can you not be so deceitful? The three of them staggered, cursing and swearing. Finally, they stood up. Lu Chen looked at the two of them. There was no need for him to say anything. Little Originator turned into Little Furball's appearance and lay on Little Beast's shoulder with Little Furball. Little Beast shook its head. Can't you two walk on your own? As it spoke, it stood up with its hands on the ground. Dad! Are you okay? Lu Chen nodded. Guing, Mu Long, and Lu Chen looked at each other before looking at the evil spirit race's war soul. Hey, what's wrong? Do you still want to fight? Lu Chen looked at the war soul. The war soul's gaze turned and landed on Lu Chen. If he were to make a move now, after a moment, he would suddenly take a step to the side and open up the final path. You can enter, but the other two can't. Guing and Mu Long sent Lu Chen to the entrance before letting go. Guing sighed, Kid, we can only send you up to here. Be careful. We might not be able to reach the 8th heaven in our lifetime. Come back and visit us when you have time, Mu Long said. Don't die in the 8th heaven so quickly. Lu Chen took a deep breath and nodded. Okay. Little Beast, Qian Ji, let's go. Lu Chen led the earth puppet and the three beasts to the last stage of the apotheosis platform. There was a table in front of Lu Chen. There was a piece of white paper on the table. When Lu Chen came to the white paper, two Earth Chinese characters suddenly appeared on the white paper, stroke by stroke. God Fiend. At the same time, Lu Chen noticed that the fog on the badge on his chest had dissipated. The words on it had also changed. 2-star Field God Fiend Human Emperor, variant. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Was that Giant Rock's own title? I'm still the Human Emperor. I haven't become a god yet. Forget it, I don't expect to become a god anyway. Human Emperor it is. It's just that the words field and variant are a little eye-catching. I've finally reached the divine realm. In the distance, Mu Long and Guing shouted at Lu Chen crazily. Lu Chen, what's your title? Let us see. At that moment, a whirlpool-shaped nebula appeared in the sky above everyone's heads. The paper on the table was swept up by the nebula and slowly flew into the sky until it was sucked into the nebula. The evil spirit race's god war soul suddenly said, Man follows earth, earth follows heaven, heaven follows Tao, Tao follows nature. Solipsistic Dao Dao, Apotheosis complete. Title, God Fiend. As soon as he said that, two huge words appeared in the sky. They were the words God Fiend. God Fiend Human Emperor. Mu Long thought for a while and smiled. This kid's title is indeed very suitable for him. Yes, in the future, when talking about the God Fiend Human Emperor, I can say that half of the credit is due to me, Gu Ying said proudly. Lu Chen took a deep breath. It seemed that he was really fated to be a God Fiend. Alright, this title was not bad. At least it didn't really give him the title of a lunatic. The apotheosis of Dao Dao was finally completed. Lu Chen looked at the teleportation gate in front of him. A brand new journey was ahead. There were still many people and things waiting for him behind that gate. What would the eighth heaven be like? No matter what, he was very sure of one thing. Judging from this super intense apotheosis of Dao Dao, the eighth heaven would not be easy. Lu Chen stood in front of the teleportation gate and looked back. Everyone, take care. With that, he stepped into the vortex with the 3 beasts and the 1,000 puppets. Chapter 1426. When Lu Chen opened his eyes, he found himself in a primitive jungle. There were 20 to 30 barbarians wearing animal skins with some strange patterns on their bodies. They were kneeling on the ground with simple spears and bows beside them. At this time, their foreheads were on the ground, and they were constantly muttering. Strangely, Lu Chen could understand their words. They seemed to be grateful for the protection of a local god, who helped them scare away the beasts and saved them. Lu Chen frowned, and his brain couldn't react for a while. Looking at these people, they should be humans who couldn't even be considered as immortal cultivators. Wasn't this the eighth heaven? Wasn't this the divine realm? There were no mortals in the seventh heaven. How could there be mortals in the eighth heaven? Lu Chen couldn't understand. Looking at these people who were kneeling and worshipping him, he guessed that he couldn't get anything out of them, so he turned and left. God of hunting, please wait. Behind him, an old man said in a trembling voice. Lu Chen looked back at the old man, I'm not your god of hunting. You've got it wrong. You are not the god of hunting. No, we were just discovered by the greater-toothed tiger. Just when we were asking for the protection of the gods, you appeared. The greater-toothed tiger saw you and ran away. You're not a god. Why would such a ferocious beast be afraid of you? Lu Chen didn't know what kind of beast the greater-toothed tiger was, but looking at the old man's confident tone, he guessed that during the teleportation, this group of people was praying to the gods when they were in danger, and he happened to appear and scared away some beast or something. Lu Chen wanted to deny it, but he changed his mind after thinking about it. Old man, where is this? Is this the eighth heaven? Even the natives should know about the divine realm, just like the natives of the fifth heaven knew that he was in the fifth heaven. Eighth heaven. Lord God, this is the Varo star, and we are from the White Wolf tribe. I don't know what you mean by the eighth heaven. Lu Chen frowned more and more. Okay, where is your tribe? It's 30 miles west from here. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, you guys go first, I want to be alone. Those people didn't seem to dare to disobey Lu Chen's words. They bowed and retreated step by step until they were far away. Only then did they reluctantly leave. Lu Chen shook his head and walked to the side of a lake. He propped up his chin and thought hard. Is it because I'm not a god that there's no notification? The last time I went to the seventh heaven, it was the same. Yi Fan, Jiu, and the rest had hints, but I didn't. Lu Chen originally thought that the eighth heaven was filled with deities, but as soon as he arrived, he encountered mortals. Furthermore, these mortals seemed to know nothing about the eighth heaven. After thinking for a while, Lu Chen summoned little golden carp and Qian Ji and told them about the current situation. Qian Ji opened his eyes wide. Why was he called out again? Lu Chen, this guy, really used himself as a counselor. The little golden carp thought for a moment and said, Benefactor, perhaps it is related to the heavenly Tao's divine power. The way to level up the heavenly Tao's divine power is different from other attributes. It requires the power of faith from mortals to level up. As the eighth heaven is the heaven where deities live, these mortal worlds appeared in order to level up the heavenly Tao's divine power. Lu Chen finally had an idea. He then looked at Qian Ji and said, Qian Ji, what do you think? Tell me. Qian Ji said with tears in his eyes, deities, immortals, and mortals are all different. Don't you have a skill called God's Descent? Based on the strength of that skill, deities can transform into 10,000 worlds. Since that's the case, the divine domain shouldn't be the same as the normal heaven. It might not even have a fixed location. The divine domain exists in the countless worlds here, but it doesn't exist in the 10,000 worlds in a specific form. Lu Chen opened his eyes wide. Qian Ji's analysis made sense. It seemed that keeping his head was the right choice. What should we do now? Lu Chen asked. Qian Ji thought for a moment and said, doesn't the White Wolf tribe worship a god of the hunt? Since it's only a deity's world, that means that the god of the hunt is real. Let's think of a way to trick him over. We'll know when we ask him. After Qian Ji finished speaking, he secretly observed Lu Chen's reaction. As the saying goes, a mountain cannot contain two tigers. If a deity wanted to level up the heavenly Tao's divine power, he wouldn't allow another deity to appear in his territory. As long as Lu Chen agreed to his suggestion, the real deity would kill him if he came. Lu Chen thought for a moment and slapped his thigh. All right, it's decided then. Lu Chen immediately kept the little golden carp and Qian Ji and headed west to look for the White Wolf tribe. However, before Lu Chen could go far, he caught up with the previous team of White Wolf hunters before he could find the White Wolf tribe. When the group of hunters saw Lu Chen, they wanted to kneel down again. Lu Chen reacted quickly and held the leading old man. I've already said that I'm not a deity. I just happened to pass by and scared the split-toothed tiger away. You don't have to kneel to me. The hunters looked at each other. Just happened to pass by. But looking at him, he doesn't look like a deity. Lu Chen had always been like this when interacting with others. He didn't care about the other party's strength and didn't put on airs. He didn't look like a deity at all. I see. Since you've saved us, you're our benefactor. If you don't mind, we'd like to invite you to our tribe. We'll treat you with the best wine and food. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, I have a few friends. Would that be convenient? The old man immediately said, our White Wolf tribe is the largest tribe nearby. Benefactor's friends are our friends. How can we reject you? Lu Chen smiled and pretended to call the four beasts out from the forest. These guys should be hungry. Dad, is this the eighth layer of heaven? Why is it different from what I imagined? Don't be so long-winded. Those are mortals. I'll bring you guys to eat something first. When it came to food, the little furball immediately became spirited and squeaked excitedly. Lu Chen brought the little beast and followed the White Wolf hunters towards the White Wolf tribe. The territory of the White Wolf tribe wasn't small. The entire tribe had about 2,000 people. The men were responsible for hunting while the women were responsible for planting and rearing livestock. After the leading old man had a simple discussion with the chief personally came to Lu Chen and bowed slightly. Hello, brave warrior. I'm the chief of the White Wolf tribe, White Wolf King. Thank you, brave warrior, for saving our hunters. Benefactor, please stay for a few days. We'll do our part as a host. Lu Chen naturally didn't object. While he was talking to White Wolf King, he glanced around the tribe. At the back of the village, he saw a building made of pure white stone. There were stone pillars on top of it and some strange patterns were drawn on the pillars. It seemed to be an altar. Chapter 1427. On that day, Lu Chen and the little beast received the warmest reception. The alcohol in the White Wolf tribe was very strong. The women in the tribe were also dressed very lightly. They were not primitive people, and their appearance was almost the same as the people on earth. The few women who served Lu Chen and the little beast were quite pretty. The little beast passed out after a few glasses, but Lu Chen was still the same. He could not get drunk even after 1,000 glasses. Speaking of which, Lu Chen was not a big drinker in the past. It was just that after his cultivation increased, his alcohol tolerance also increased. Lu Chen looked at the little beast strangely. This guy got drunk so quickly. Maybe he was born allergic to alcohol. At night, Lu Chen and the little beast were arranged to stay in the White Wolf tribe. Late at night, Lu Chen was not sleepy at all. He lay on the bed and looked at the moonlight outside the window. There is no specific location in the divine territory. Where can I find the great Mongol tree? Although the little golden carp could search for treasures, she had a special characteristic, which was that she was aimless. Besides, he could not travel through places with water like her. Let's see if I can get the god of the hunt down first. Just when Lu Chen could not sleep at night, Lu Chen saw two graceful figures in light muslin. They seemed to be holding a plate in their hands. They glanced at him and then left in a hurry. The next morning, Lu Chen went to look for the little beast. As soon as he opened the door, the scene in front of him made Lu Chen's brain short-circuit. There were two women on the little beast's bed. The two women were sleeping very soundly. It seemed that they were tired last night. On the other hand, the little beast saw its dad as soon as it opened its eyes. It quickly got up and put on its clothes, then pulled its dad to the door. "Dad, why are you up so early?" Lu Chen looked at the little beast in shock. Why are there women in your house?" "Dad, didn't anyone send you fruits last night?" the little beast asked, puzzled. "Fruits? What fruits?" Little beastie thought for a moment and said, "Oh, maybe it's because Dad wasn't drunk yesterday. Dad, the beautiful woman who served us wine last night obviously wanted something to happen between us, so I pretended to be drunk early." "Pretending to be drunk?" Lu Chen was shocked. "That's right, if we don't pretend to be drunk, they won't have a chance." As expected, they came at night. The little beast looked at Lu Chen with a, "you know what I mean," expression. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Written all over his face was, "I don't understand." Last night, when they were drinking, they were talking about how powerful the White Wolf clan was and how the god of the hunt was protecting them. Why were they talking like this? Why didn't he know? Speaking of which, there were indeed two women who stayed outside his room last night. But when they saw that he had a lot on his mind, they left. Who would have thought that even though they were both drinking together, the two of them were treated so differently? Lu Chen let out a long sigh. "Little Shou, you've grown up. It's reasonable to say that I shouldn't meddle in your affairs. But what if you leave a child behind? We still haven't figured out what this world is like." Little Shou scratched its head. "So be it. Dad, I'm different from you. I'm a mythical beast. If we don't reproduce, how can there be so many mutated mythical beasts?" Lu Chen thought about it and felt that it made sense. The dragon had 9 sons, and each one was different. When they were fused into little beasts, there were 2 dragons and a bunch of other mythical beasts. It shouldn't be too much to have a few hundred children. Well, he didn't make it this time. He wondered if there would be anyone coming to deliver fruits tonight. It was said that the first impression was very important. After the failed attempt to deliver fruits, no one came to disturb Lu Chen at night. Since he didn't have a chance to have a romantic encounter, Lu Chen could only focus on inquiring about the god of the hunt. According to the White Wolf King, in 2.5 months, it would be the big day to worship the god of the hunt. At that time, not only would all the tribes of Varo open their own god altar, but they would also select the strongest warriors from each tribe to worship the god of the hunt at the main god altar. It seemed that this was a rare opportunity. Lu Chen and Little Shou didn't have anywhere to go, so Lu Chen and Little Shou stayed in the White Wolf tribe for the time being. In order to integrate into the White Wolf tribe, Lu Chen called himself Jackal and Little Shou called himself 100 Beast. Half a month later, on this day, the White Wolf King gathered all the hunters in the tribe and announced that they would select the strongest warrior in the tribe. According to tradition, every warrior has a chance to compete for the title of the strongest warrior, the White Wolf King said loudly. The White Wolf King said loudly, within 7 days, whoever hunts the highest level prey will be able to bring the prey and represent our White Wolf clan to participate in the worship of the gods on Varro. Seeing that the crowd didn't seem to be in a good mood, the White Wolf King shook his head and shouted, "But no matter how the other tribes look at us, we must also be blessed by the god of the hunt. Otherwise, how can we survive in the Varro forest, which is full of wild beasts? Since you are a warrior, you must shoulder the responsibility of protecting the tribe." After being lectured by the chief, the crowd raised their heads and clenched their fists. Lu Chen didn't care what the others thought and said, "Chief White Wolf King, can I participate in your warrior competition?" Everyone looked at Lu Chen and then looked at the White Wolf King. The old hunter who was saved by Lu Chen quietly pulled Lu Chen's sleeve. "Jackal, the strongest warrior is not what you think it is. People in our village can only hunt level 1 beasts, so our sacrifices will be looked down upon, and our warriors will be insulted by other tribes." After living in the tribe for half a month, Lu Chen had some understanding of this world. On Kalo Star, wild beasts were also divided into levels. For example, the split-toothed tiger's level increased from level 1 to level 9, while the split-toothed tiger could only be regarded as a level 2 to level 3 beast. This kind of beast required more than 100 people to hunt. At first, the White Wolf tribe said that they were a large tribe, but in fact, they were far from being a real large tribe. They could only be regarded as the best among the dwarves. In the past, in their warrior competition, hunting a level 1 beast had a high probability of becoming the strongest warrior. However, in the eyes of the real big tribes, such sacrifices were not even qualified to be worshipped. Lu Chen nodded and smiled at the old man, "You have warmly entertained us for many days, just think of it as me returning the favor. Don't worry, Black Ape, I know what to do." The White Wolf King negotiated with the witch next to him and said, "Brother Jackal, you are the benefactor of our White Wolf tribe, so naturally you can participate in the warrior competition. But, you don't know, in fact, the strongest warrior also needs the courage to face a difficult situation." The chief spoke more vaguely, after all, he was mobilizing the others. Lu Chen said disapprovingly, "I know, okay, thank you, chief." Next, the week-long big hunting competition began. The little beast planned to stay in the tribe to guard the rear, but Lu Chen couldn't do anything about it. He took the dry food and walked alone into the forest. Looking at the direction Lu Chen left, Black Ape frowned. "That direction, isn't it the direction to the land of death?" Chapter 1428. Thinking of Little Beast, Lu Chen was filled with anger. He cursed as he chopped the weeds and withered vines in front of him. That little bastard Little Beast, doesn't he know how to warn his father? Seeing that there was no one around, Lu Chen directly used his movement technique and quickly rushed to the place of death. It was said that there was a 9th-level exotic beast living here, the king of exotic beasts in this forest. 50 kilometers away, Lu Chen saw a huge cave at the foot of a huge mountain. It was dozens of meters tall, and it appeared in front of him. As a man who had been the alpha wolf for 100 years, Lu Chen knew the minds of wild beasts too well. The other exotic beasts' nests were all hidden. Only the powerful exotic beasts dared to show their nests to the outside world. "I guess this is the golden lion's nest." Lu Chen walked directly into the cave. The owner was not home. The nest was full of beasts and human skeletons, emitting a fishy smell. That guy is not here. If he went out hunting, I don't know how long he would have to wait. Lu Chen shook his head, wondering if he should go out and look for him. At this moment, Little Green suddenly reacted. Lu Chen called her out. "What's wrong, Little Green?" "Boss, the smell of herbs in this cave is very strong. There are spirit herbs in the depths of the cave," Little Green said excitedly. "It smells like the beast god's illusionary soul herb." Lu Chen knew very few herbs. Anyway, if Little Green said it was useful, then it was useful. "Okay, then you go and pick them. Little Furball and Little Originator will protect you." Little Green was already picking the herbs in the cave. Almost at the same time, a rumbling sound came from the entrance of the cave. Lu Chen quickly walked to the entrance of the cave and found 3 golden lion hunters rushing to the cave. The golden lion hunters were covered in golden hair. They were over 60 meters tall and had a huge body. 3. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. It seems that they want to protect the spirit herbs in the cave. As soon as Little Green attacked, it attracted the nearby golden fur hoe. Then let's kill them together. Lu Chen didn't even use a weapon. With a flash of his figure, the 3 golden-furred guardian lions had already died at his hands. At the same time, Little Green finished harvesting the herbs. When he came out, he saw the corpses of the 3 giant beasts on the ground. Lu Chen clapped his hands. "It's a little stronger than a 9-revolution monstrous beast. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful beast in this world." Little Green smiled as he said, "Boss, no matter how strong they were still killed by you. Should we bring these 3 back?" Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, 3 is too troublesome. Take out 2 beast cores and give them to the little beasts to bring back. I will take the biggest one back. If we go back now, we'll attract too much attention. Since there are herbs here, Little Green, let's just walk around. The 7-day hunting competition was finally coming to an end. One by one, the warriors returned to the tribe. The people in the tribe also gathered around, looking at the prey brought back by the warriors. "De Zhuang, you hunted 3 short-tailed gray-eyed wolves by yourself. They're not small. They're all over 10 years old. They're the best among the level 1 beasts. This should be the best result so far. De Zhuang, you're indeed the #1 warrior of our white wolf tribe." Little Beasts and his 2 wives were also watching the fun. As for the prey brought back by the warriors, Little Beasts didn't express any opinions. They treated him well, so he didn't want to attack these simple people. However, there were a few warriors who looked at Little Beasts with a trace of disgust in their eyes. A big man who only knows how to hide in the arms of women. Is such a person worthy of living in the tribe? He doesn't even dare to participate in the hero competition. I've never seen such a spineless man. Don't talk about the hero competition. Have you seen them participate in the hunting competition? They only know how to live off women. They saved Black Ape and a few others, but we've been feeding them for almost a month. Why do they still have the face to stay with us?" Little Beast smiled and looked at the warriors. "Friends, who said we're freeloaders? Didn't my dad go hunting?" "Your dad? Jackals don't have any hunting experience. What do you think he can catch?" "I think jackals can't even catch a rabbit." Little Beasts was unhappy when he heard them talk about his dad. "How can you say that? Even the chief said we can stay as long as we want. Who do you think you are? The chief is the chief. We're the ones who are hunting. If we want to chase you away, the chief can't stop us." De Zhuang said angrily. "You don't even participate in the hero competition. What right do you have to speak here? Cowards." With Little Beast's temper, he couldn't wait to teach these people a lesson. However, when he turned around and saw his 2 wives, if he couldn't hold back and killed them, his wives wouldn't be able to raise their heads in the future. Moreover, the ones who started the trouble didn't represent the entire White Wolf tribe. Thinking of this, little beasts held back. Fine, fine. You said my dad and I are freeloaders, right? When my dad comes back, he'll shut all of you up. TSK, this is the last day. If your dad's prey isn't the best in the village, you too can get out of the village. Fine, if his prey is the best, then the four of you can get out. At this moment, a figure appeared at the village entrance. Everyone looked over and saw Lu Chen returning empty-handed. Ha 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 ha, I told you. Look at jackals. They didn't catch anything. De Zhuang laughed wildly. Little beasts frowned. Impossible. Dad must have gone to find the god of the hunt. How could he return empty-handed? From afar, Lu Chen saw Little Beast and shouted at the top of his lungs, Little Beast, call more people over to help. Little Beast was stunned, but quickly went to call Black Ape and the others over. The others looked at the village entrance coldly. Help? Could it be that they caught a second-level beast? Stop pretending. Not long after, Black Ape ran over. Looking at his expression, it was as if he had seen a ghost. He went straight to the chief's house. White Wolf King quickly rushed out of the house and shouted, all the men in the village. Come with me now. Jackals caught a big guy. 400 to 500 people stood in front of a giant golden beast's body. Their jaws were all missing. This is, an adult golden fur ho. A 9th-level beast king. Oh my god, didn't they say that anyone who saw the golden fur ho would become its food? It's huge. Jackals, did you really catch it? How many tribes on Varo can hunt a golden fur ho? Lu Chen scratched his head and thought for a moment before saying, I was just lucky. It happened to be injured. I don't know who injured it, but I picked it up. Black Ape opened his eyes wide and looked at Lu Chen in horror. Brother Jackals, for hundreds of years, we have never heard of anyone who could be as lucky as you. Besides, this golden fur ho only has a small wound on its forehead. There is no injury on its body. How could it be injured? Lu Chen was a little embarrassed. If he explained further, he would be exposed. He hurriedly gave Little Beasts a look. Little Beasts, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and drag it back to the village. Father, let us help you. The two beauties beside Little Beasts took action first. Father? Lu Chen was confused, but soon he figured out the reason. These two must be his daughters-in-law. Lu Chen held his forehead and looked hopeless. Chapter 1429. Lu Chen's prey was like a small mountain in the village. De Zhuang was so scared that he couldn't even speak properly. Golden Bear Lion. You can even hunt such a thing? Little Beast smiled. Now, no one will say that we are here to eat and stay for free. This time, there was no need for a selection. The White Wolf King was so excited that he couldn't speak properly. Brother Lupus is too strong. Our White Wolf tribe actually. No, you actually hunted a level 9 beast. This is unbelievable. I think there's no need for a selection. Lupus is the strongest warrior of our tribe. He will represent our tribe to participate in the god of hunting's ritual. The women in the tribe dealt with the corpse of the golden bear lion. The corpse was protected by spiritual energy, so it wouldn't rot so quickly. However, it was better to eat it fresh. The food couldn't be finished in a few days. Some of it had to be made into bacon, and the bones could be made into sharp weapons. In short, the tribe was busy dealing with the corpse of the golden bear lion. 2 days later, Lu Chen could finally set off. The White Wolf King personally put on Lu Chen's head ornament that represented the White Wolf tribe. Brother Lupus, this time our White Wolf tribe can finally hold our heads up high. You can choose 10 warriors to escort you to the main altar of the god of hunting. Lu Chen chose Black Ape and the others. He took the dry food prepared by the White Wolf tribe and Little Beast with him. Little Beast followed beside Lu Chen while Black Ape and the others followed behind with the cart. "Dad, are we not going back to the White Wolf tribe in the future?" Little Beast asked in a low voice. "Do you really think we are here for a vacation? Didn't the White Wolf King say that if the level of the prey sacrificed was high enough, we could even get the God of Hunting's guidance? A level 9 beast is already the highest level here. It should be able to attract the God of Hunting's attention," Lu Chen replied. Lu Chen's current strength was not enough to fight against a real god. After all, when he was a titled warrior, he only dealt with God's war soul. Little Beast sighed. "Fortunately, I left a lot of beast cores for my 2 wives. They won't have to worry about food and clothing in the future. Why didn't you bring them along?" "Troublesome." The Little Beast said, "Divine beasts are only responsible for reproduction. Sigh, we divine beasts are destined to be lonely." Sure enough, the Little Beast was becoming more and more like a mythical beast. Especially when it was irresponsible, with the Black Ape and the rest following them. Lu Chen and the Little Beast didn't travel too fast. However, they weren't in a hurry either. They arrived at the main altar of the God of Hunting in 15 days. From afar, they could see an altar as tall as a pyramid. The base of the pyramid altar was a few hundred meters long. The whole altar was quite majestic, far more than the small altars in the tribes. That should be the place where the God of the Hunt was worshipped. When they arrived, there were already many tribesmen here. Judging from the offerings brought by these tribes, the White Wolf tribe was indeed the smallest tribe. Most of the tribes had strong physiques, and they actually had a foundation of spiritual power. Their spoils of war even included the heads of level 5, 6, and 7 wild beasts. Lu Chen came to the Black Ape's side and asked curiously, "Brother Black Ape, do these people cultivate spiritual power?" Black Ape replied, "Oh, Jackal, you're talking about those dragon hunters. In some large tribes, there are their own dragon hunters. They have the ability to use spiritual power to increase the limits of their bodies. They're far more powerful than us ordinary people." Then, Black Ape said embarrassedly, "Hee, actually, when I first told you that the White Wolf tribe was a large tribe, I was more or less bragging. Tribes that can come here must have more than 2,000 people. Our White Wolf tribe is considered a large tribe around our territory, but in the entire Varo Star, we're only considered to have just started developing." Lu Chen smiled faintly. He already knew. However, he didn't expect there to be so many practitioners here. He just took a look and the strongest one was about as strong as Theo the Great. Theo the Great was only 1 realm away from the Human King realm. Speaking of which, he was only 2 realms lower than Lu Chen. People from various tribes brought the heads of their hunted prey and waited for the final ceremony. When Lu Chen raised the head of the golden centipede, the surrounding people retreated far away. "My God, what kind of beast's head is this? It's so big. A level 9 beast? Looking at the head ornaments, they're from the White Wolf tribe. How could the White Wolf tribe hunt such a powerful beast? It can't be the one from the land of death, right?" At this moment, the crowd at the back suddenly became restless. "It's the Twin Dragon tribe. This time, they brought the head of the level 9 Kuei ox. The Kuei ox is the most difficult prey to hunt. The Twin Dragon tribe is going to be the first hero of the ceremony again. They can get the chance to talk to the God of the Hunt. I'm so envious. Their warrior is the Beast King, it's really the Beast King. I'm here this time to see the Beast King himself." Lu Chen and the Little Beast looked over and saw a well-dressed man standing on a wooden chariot. The head of the Kuei ox was hanging in front of the chariot. Countless people crowded around and shouted the name of the Beast King. He was very conspicuous in the crowd. Lu Chen asked the Black Ape, "Who's that guy?" "That's the Beast King, the first warrior of the Twin Dragon tribe. The twin dragon tribe is the strongest tribe on Vero. The black ape said unwillingly, Jackal, although we're also level 9 tributes, it's better not to provoke them. Another white wolf tribe member said, the twin dragon tribe is always the first hero of the ceremony. They monopolize 80% of the blessings of the god of the hunt. The other tribes get the remaining 20% according to the level of the tributes. Moreover, the twin dragon tribe is the only tribe on Vero that has a territory. No other tribe can exist within 500 miles of their territory. Once discovered, the tribe will be exterminated. As long as you enter their territory, whether intentional or not, you'll be killed by them. Their methods are quite cruel. The little beast squinted its eyes slightly. The Beast King was a human king. No wonder he was so arrogant. Black Ape, the first hero of the ceremony, can have the chance to talk to the god of the hunt. Is that true? The Black Ape nodded. Yes. After the god of the hunt is summoned, if he's satisfied with the tributes, he'll let the high priest pass on his will. The high priest is the wizard who presides over the ceremony. He's also from the twin dragon tribe. Lu Chen frowned. Talking to the god of the hunt was the opportunity he was looking for. If that was the case, he had to be the first hero of the ceremony. Lu Chen snorted. We're all level 9 tributes. Why can we only fight for 20% while they get 80%? The black ape heard Lu Chen's words and immediately became worried. He said anxiously, Jackal, don't provoke them. We can't afford to provoke them. The little beast looked indifferent and said, Black Ape, don't worry. The twin dragon tribe will understand that my dad is the one they can't afford to provoke. Chapter 1430. At noon, the ceremony of the god of the hunt officially began. After a series of complicated prayer ceremonies, the high priest began the group war dance. Since only the representatives of the tribe could participate in the ceremony, the offerings were temporarily kept by the tribe members. The gongs and drums shook the sky, and the warriors around were dancing with all their might. Roar! Ha! Roar! Lu Chen was speechless. Why didn't anyone tell him that there was a dance? It was part of the ceremony, so Lu Chen had to dance with them. However, his dance was influenced by the Wuxia Continent's Academy of Male Arts. It was quite sexy. Oh my god, Dad's dance is so sexy. The little beast widened its eyes, full of amazement and admiration. I didn't expect Dad to be so talented. I want to learn. It took a lot of effort to get through the group dance. The high priest stood in front of the altar and shouted to all the warriors below, the first drop of blood will be offered by the first warrior of Vero. The Beast King of the Twin Dragon tribe hunted the head of the level 9 Kuei ox. He is the first warrior of Vero. Warrior Beast King, please come to the stage. The Beast King held his head high. 8 tribesmen of the Twin Dragon tribe carried the huge head of the Kuei ox to him. He put the head of the Kuei ox on his shoulder and strode to the pyramid altar under everyone's gaze. The black ape had no time to pay attention to the Beast King. He kept staring at the wolf in front of him. Is this guy really going to do it? Wait! As expected, Lu Chen shouted, attracting everyone's attention. The Beast King frowned slightly and slowly turned to look in the direction of the voice. The high priest on the altar was extremely dissatisfied. Who are you? How dare you make trouble at the ceremony of the god of the hunt? Lu Chen snorted. Is the title of the first warrior just for show? If that's the case, I'll be the first warrior too. As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, there was an uproar. Is this guy crazy? He's talking nonsense at the ceremony of the god of the hunt. Isn't he afraid of being punished by the gods? He's from the White Wolf tribe. Although the White Wolf tribe was only qualified to participate in the general ceremony a few years ago, they have participated in it several times. How can they not know the rules? Hiss. What is the white wolf's offering? The high priest looked coldly at Lu Chen, his voice filled with malice. What a joke. It's an indisputable fact that the Beast King is the #1 warrior of Vero. None of the warriors have any objections to this. How can I just casually make a decision? You can ask these thousands of warriors if anyone has any objections to the title of the #1 warrior of the Beast King. The high priest waved his scepter in a regal manner. None of the warriors present dared to look directly at him. Did you see the Beast King's sacrifice? The Class 9 one-legged bull. The title of the Beast King's #1 warrior is a result of his strength and everyone's expectations. Lu Chen smiled disapprovingly. I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't think it's true that it's what everyone expects. How about this, all the warriors of the tribes, as long as you choose me as the #1 warrior, the White Wolf tribe will only take 30% of the blessings of the god of the hunt. The other 70% will be divided according to the level of the offering. As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, the warriors of the other tribes raised their heads and looked at Lu Chen in shock. The Twin Dragon tribe took 80% of the blessings of the god of the hunt. How could they not have any objections? There were thousands of tribes in Vero. Including those who were not qualified to be here, there might be hundreds of thousands of them. The Twin Dragon tribe took 80% of the blessings. How domineering. No one had dared to mention it before, but no one had expected that a warrior from a small tribe like the White Wolf tribe would bring it up today. Black Ape sighed and said to a companion behind him, Silver Fox, quickly go back and report that the Jackal Wolf has gone mad and offended the Twin Dragon tribe. Ask the White Wolf King to organize an evacuation immediately. At this moment, Lu Chen was oblivious to Black Ape's situation. He continued speaking passionately, you all claim to be the strongest warriors of your tribe. Why? You have the courage to face the ferocious beasts, but you don't have the courage to resist oppression. One tribe takes 80% of the blessings, and thousands of you only get 20%. In the long run, the Twin Dragon tribe will become stronger and stronger, and you will become weaker. When that time comes, I'm afraid they won't even be willing to give you 20%. As long as you choose me as the strongest warrior, I can guarantee that as long as the blessings of the god of the hunt are still there, the ratio I mentioned just now will not change. The eyes of the people around suddenly lit up with hope after hearing Lu Chen's words. Now that's a reasonable ratio. That's right, why should the Twin Dragon tribe take 80%? I've had objections for a long time. If we all work together, the Twin Dragon tribe won't dare to touch us. The scene suddenly became chaotic. The warriors' spirits gradually rose, and some even directly shouted the name of the White Wolf tribe. There was a loud bang in front of the pyramid altar. The ground shook, and the scene instantly quieted down. People looked in the direction of the sound and saw the Beast King punch the ground. With his iron fist as the center, the ground cracked for 300 to 400 meters. Shattering the ground with one punch, those who supported Lu Chen shut up all of a sudden, because that person was angry. The Beast King slowly stood up. The head of the kuei on his shoulder seemed to be a part of his body, making people feel even more intimidated. He lifted his chin slightly and narrowed his eyes at Lu Chen. You said that my title as the strongest warrior of the Beast King was casually given by the high priest. Kid, did you see my prey? In order to protect its young, it resisted with all its might. In the end, the more it resisted, the more pain it suffered when it died. Everyone was shocked. The Beast King killed a level 9 kuei. What was more terrifying was that he killed a kuei that was protecting its young. One had to know that the kuei's combat power was at its most terrifying at this time. The Beast King had already told everyone that his strength was unquestionable. At the same time, he was also warning Lu Chen that he would never show mercy to his enemies. Kid, you said you want to be the strongest warrior. Alright, then take out your sacrifice. Let us see if the sacrifice of the White Wolf tribe is a hyena or a water dog. The Beast King looked at Lu Chen with a faint smile. Laughter came from the twin dragon tribe. Do you still remember the sacrifice of the White Wolf tribe 2 years ago? What a joke, I really don't know how they have the face to participate in the ceremony. A tribe of 2,000 people, and they still call themselves a big tribe. Their pitiful self-esteem is really disgusting. This kind of tribe should be destroyed early. The rest of you can get more blessings from the god of the hunt. At this moment, many warriors finally realized that the leader was just a member of the White Wolf tribe. Their previously high spirits were instantly suppressed by the Beast King alone. Lu Chen looked at the Beast King, smiled, and said in a low voice, "Little beast, what are you waiting for?" Little Beast finally woke up from its spectating state. It picked up the head of the golden lion in its tribesman's hand and threw it over from a few thousand meters away. "Dad, catch!" Catching the golden lion's head steadily with one hand, Lu Chen looked at the Beast King indifferently. "I'm different from you. My prey was luckier. It died before it could even feel any pain." Chapter 1431. It died before it could even feel the pain. Two images flashed through everyone's minds. The Beast King angered a kuei that was guarding its cub. After a fierce battle, the Beast King finally killed the kuei. The White Wolf tribe's jackal encountered a golden hoe and the battle ended. Compared to the Beast King was much weaker. Lu Chen held the head of the guardian lion and sighed. "I'm sorry, I didn't have much experience in hunting this time. I just casually hunted one, and it's only a little bit stronger than a hyena." The twin dragon tribesmen were livid. "Jackal, that bastard," slapped them in the face just because of what they just said. The golden hoe was also a 9th level beast, but there were differences in strength between 9th level beasts. The kuei's defense was very strong, but its attack and agility were lacking. The golden hoe's defense was also very strong. Their golden fur covered their entire body, giving them a strong defense. Moreover, they were more agile and had more terrifying attacks. The area where the golden fur hoe lived was known as the Land of Death, while the kuei cows lived in scattered areas. One territory had a name, while the other didn't. From this, it could be seen that people feared the golden fur hoe more than they feared the kuei cows. When the Beast King saw Lu Chen holding the golden hoe's head, the Beast King's eyes narrowed. "No wonder you're so confident. It turns out that you've hit the jackpot and picked up a dead golden fur hoe. As we all know, golden hoe often appear in groups. It's impossible for you to hunt one alone. Do you think we're so easy to fool?" Lu Chen curled his lips. "Why do you care if I'm lucky or not? In terms of offerings, my offerings aren't lower than yours." Lu Chen then looked at the other warriors. "Do you think I'm qualified to compete for the title of number 1 warrior?" Most of the people were on Lu Chen's side, so they all agreed. "Since it's a general ceremony, it should be public. I think the White Wolf warrior has a 9th level offering, so he should be qualified to compete for the title of number 1 warrior. They're both 9th level offerings. Why can't the White Wolf warrior be number 1 warrior? I support the White Wolf warrior." At this time, thousands of people were supporting Lu Chen. The entire ceremony was in chaos. The high priest looked at the Beast King, who nodded at him. The high priest waved his scepter and shouted, "Silence. White Wolf warrior, what's your name?" "Jackal." Lu Chen shouted. "Alright, since you've also provided a level 9 offering, you're qualified to compete for the position of the strongest warrior. Since you are a warrior, you should fight for honor and for the tribe. I challenge you to a duel with the Beast King, do you dare to accept?" Lu Chen smiled. "If you want to spar, then I'll spar. But if you want to duel, then I'll have to agree." "Good. As expected of the White Wolf warrior, you have guts." The high priest immediately said, as if he did not want to give Lu Chen any chance to back out. Black Ape's heart was in his throat. He said in a trembling voice, "Duel. Why do we have to duel? Isn't it enough to just spar? Why do we have to take each other's lives? Brother Jackal, I told you not to stand out. What do you think we should do now?" He looked anxiously at the little beast, but the little beast just sighed. "Sigh, we're going to fight so soon. I wanted to see if there was another dance. Now it seems there's nothing to see." Black Ape looked at the little beast in shock. "100 Beast, Jackal is your father. How can you be so unconcerned?" The little beast saw that Black Ape was concerned about his father and had a better impression of him. He said sincerely, "Old Black, let me tell you. When I'm worried about my father, it's when he's almost dead. Even so, he's still alive now. That's why I'm starting to get numb to it. This kind of small scene is not interesting at all. I'd rather watch my father dance." After all, the little beast was someone who had followed Lu Chen through all kinds of situations. He didn't need to worry about this kind of small scene. Black Ape's face was full of doubt and confusion. "Why do I feel like Brother Jackal is going to die this time?" For Black Ape and the others, Jackal's current situation was already a hopeless situation. The little beast was still young after all. Black Ape turned to another tribe member and whispered, "Send word back. Say that Brother Jackal died for the tribe. Let the White Wolf King ask for a portion of Jackal's soul to rest in peace during the tribe's ceremony." That person looked at Lu Chen's back and sighed. The Beast King's strength had reached the peak of perfection. No one was his opponent. Sigh, Jackal saved us. During this period of time, he got along well with us. He's already become a member of the White Wolf tribe. I didn't expect him to have the courage to accept the Beast King's duel. At least he didn't lose face for our White Wolf tribe. I'll go back now." With that, the man turned and ran into the forest. In the center of the ceremony area, the Beast King and Lu Chen stood opposite each other. The Beast King crossed his arms and looked at Lu Chen with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Jackal, I've said before that my prey will die miserably. Today is the day of the ceremony. I'll use your blood as an offering to the god of the hunt." The high priest gave the order and the duel began. The Beast King's whole body erupted with a terrifying spiritual power. A huge illusory figure appeared behind him. Soul of the hunt. Earth's power, Tyr. A huge crack appeared in the ground, connecting the Beast King and Lu Chen's feet. The Beast King suddenly disappeared. In the next second, a figure flashed through the crack and directly hugged Lu Chen from behind. The Beast King's 2 arms bulged with muscles. His 2 big hands clasped Lu Chen's chest. His fingers were about to dig into Lu Chen's flesh. "Ha ha ha, boy, you've got guts. You dare to accept my duel. Then have a taste of being torn apart by me." However, the Beast King's fingers, which were as hard as steel, didn't break Lu Chen's flesh. "What's going on?" Lu Chen was surprisingly calm and said calmly, "If you ask me, I think you've got guts. Haven't you heard of this saying? Don't let the solipsistic get close to you." As soon as Lu Chen's voice fell, he suddenly pressed his right hand on the Beast King's thick arm and squeezed hard. The Beast King's arm was directly deformed and collapsed. "Ah!" The Beast King let out a heart-wrenching scream. He hurriedly let go of his hand and held his right shoulder. Suddenly, a figure flashed and Lu Chen was already standing in front of him. With one hand behind his back, he formed a sword with his right hand and gently tapped the Beast King's forehead. "It doesn't matter if I kill you or not, but you're really a bit disgusting. You actually want to take my life? Then I'm sorry. You're already dead." There was a slight prickling sensation. Lu Chen put down his arm and directly picked up the head of the golden lion on the ground. He walked step by step towards the pyramid altar. Many people still didn't understand what happened. How did Jackal escape? Why didn't the Beast King react at all? Why did the Beast King stand there motionless after he tapped the Beast King's forehead with his finger? When Lu Chen had one foot on the stairs, a muffled sound suddenly came from behind him. In a bloody mist, Jackal climbed up the altar of the god of hunting. Chapter 1432. The entire ceremony was shocked into silence by this scene. It was no wonder that they couldn't figure it out. In this world, the strength of the Beast King was the ceiling. Ordinary people couldn't even hope to catch up to it. The Black Ape's mind was in a mess. Jackal clearly said that he killed the guardian lion, but how could this guy kill the Beast King instantly? And the Beast King didn't even have a chance to resist. This kind of crushing power had already exceeded their understanding. When Lu Chen came in front of the high priest trembled and didn't dare to move as if he was looking at a monster. Lu Chen snorted coldly. In the future, the white wolf will get 30% of the blessings of the god of hunting, and the other races will get 70%. Is there a problem? The high priest didn't dare to have any questions at this time. He said with a trembling voice, "No, no problem." Lu Chen turned his head away from the high priest. He carried the guardian lion's head to the altar. Behind the altar was a round pool made of metal. The pool was high on all sides and slightly low in the middle. In the middle stood a statue of a half-man, half-horse, holding a bow and arrow. It looked like it was shooting the sun. The half-human clan. Lu Chen frowned slightly. The humans here actually worshipped the half-human clan's god. Lu Chen had just arrived at the 8th layer of heaven, so he didn't know much about it. However, the celestial master Ziling and the others said that there hadn't been a god in the 8th layer of heaven for thousands of years. Therefore, even if there were a human god in the 8th layer of heaven, it would be extremely rare. "Hey, how do you talk to a god?" Lu Chen turned around and asked. The high priest shuddered. He was simply too afraid of Lu Chen. Seeing him suddenly speak, he jumped in fright. Fortunately, Lu Chen only wanted to ask about the process of the ceremony and didn't want to kill him. The high priest hurried over and bowed. "Please put the best product on the altar and drop the warrior's blood into the sacred blood pool where the god statue is. If the god of hunting is satisfied with the warrior's tribute, the god's consciousness will descend and grant this year's god of hunting's blessing." Lu Chen nodded and placed the head of the guardian deity on the altar. He made a cut on the finger of his right hand and dripped his blood into the pool below the statue. The drop of blood followed the angle of the pool and slowly flowed towards the foot of the statue. A moment later, the blood finally came into contact with the left forelimb of the statue. With a boom, the entire altar of the pyramid began to shake. The high priest couldn't even stand properly. He had no choice but to hug the pillar beside him tightly. He shouted in horror, "What's going on? Why is there such a huge commotion? Could it be the arrival of the god of hunting?" The tremors quickly spread outward, and the ground around the pyramid began to shake violently. The towering trees in the distance directly collapsed. The ceremony was in a state of panic. What's going on? The whole earth is shaking. Is the god of the hunt angry? The originally cloudless sky was now covered with dark clouds. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and strong winds blew. Those who participated in the ceremony could not stand, so they all retreated into the forest and hugged the trees to stabilize themselves. Black Ape was almost swept away by the strong winds, but he was caught by Little Beast at the side and stabilized himself. Right now, the only ones still standing on the ground were probably the Little Beast and him. "Little Beast, what's going on? There has never been such a horrifying phenomenon when the gods descended in the past." Black Ape looked at the changes in the sky in horror. Little Beast finally put away its usual cynicism and frowned slightly as it looked at the sky above the pyramid. There, the clouds swirled and formed a huge vortex. A golden light shot down from the vortex. It seemed like something was coming down. Little Beast looked serious and said in a low voice, "Could it be that the god of the hunt is really coming down?" Little Beast stood at the top of the king pyramid. The strong wind lifted his long robe, but he stood still like a mountain. "Old Black, find a place to hide. The farther the better. This place might be destroyed." Little Beast said and gave Old Black a black tortoise shield. Then, it walked against the wind and walked up the altar of the pyramid. Little Beast came behind Lu Chen. "Dad, I don't know if it's that guy's real body that's coming down." Lu Chen also knew that if he fought with the god's real body now, it would not bode well for him. "Let's take a gamble," Lu Chen said. "I don't have much time left." Little Beast nodded and waited for the god to descend with its father. The clouds swirled until they were 1,000 meters thick. Finally, a solemn and low voice resounded through the sky. "Interesting. You're the human sovereign who entered the godly realm as a mortal, the solipsistic." Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the clouds. He said loudly, "That's right, it's me." "So, you're here to fight for my territory?" Lu Chen said, "I'm not interested in your territory. I just want to know where the Hongmeng divine tree is." "Ha ha ha, solipsistic, I heard that you're very arrogant." "Why? Don't you dare to tell me the truth after seeing me?" An eighth heaven deity needs to have people to worship and collect the power of faith in order to cultivate the heavenly divine power. Although you're not a god and have yet to open the path to godhood, you've already broken through the upper limit of the human sovereign and walked on another path. I'm afraid you also need the power of faith. Lu Chen frowned. Currently, he did not have any ability related to the power of faith. He did not know if it was the god of hunting's wild guess or if he had missed something. "I don't care about the others. I've already said that I'm not interested in your territory," Lu Chen reiterated. With a boom, thunder and lightning streaked across the sky, as if symbolizing the wrath of the gods. "Solipsistic, you're declaring war on me by coming to my territory. Even if I'm just a lower god, I won't tolerate a mortal's arrogance. You want to know the location of the Hongmeng divine tree? I think you'd better go to hell and ask." As he spoke, a ball of golden light in the clouds became brighter and brighter, illuminating the horizon. A huge god of war slowly revealed his true form from the cloud vortex. Seeing the arrival of this god, the surrounding warriors did not care about resisting the strong wind and knelt down on the spot. "Oh my god, the god of hunting has descended. Greetings, god of hunting. God of hunting, please grant us peace and safety in the Frost Snow tribe. May our entire family live a comfortable life. It's the real god of hunting. He has descended to the world." The god of hunting was 50 meters tall. A normal half-human, even the largest half-rhinoceros, was only 3 to 4 meters tall. However, this half-deer man was more than 50 meters tall. He held a huge golden bow in his hand and was ready to shoot. "Solipsistic, with me here, you can only die." Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. This is not his true form. "Dad, how do you know? Even if he became a god, I don't believe that his body can grow so much. The statues in the Tower of Babel are only a dozen meters tall. How can this guy's true form be 50 meters tall? I don't believe it." Lu Chen stared at the god of hunting and said to Little Beast, "Stand down and act according to the situation." "Yes, Dad." Then, Lu Chen shouted in a low voice, "Celestial demon coexistence." His black hair was instantly dyed white, and a black spear slowly rose from the void. Lu Chen looked at the god of hunting. "If you're here in your true form, I might be wary of you. Do you think you can kill me with just a war soul? Aren't you overestimating yourself? Since I'm here, I must know the answer. Either you tell me where the Hongmeng divine tree is, or die." Chapter 1433. An arrow light tore through space and arrived in front of Lu Chen in an instant. Lu Chen had already experienced the sixfold attack of a god's war soul in the Tower of Babel. However, Lu Chen did not know the strength of the god of the hunt's war soul compared to the war soul in the Tower of Babel, so he tried not to fight it head-on. In the Tower of Babel, the war soul's attack could not be avoided, but this was not the Tower of Babel. 9 void steps. Lu Chen's figure was like a flash of lightning, leaving only an afterimage. Then, he disappeared. Trying to run. Do you think your opponent is a celestial prime? The god of the hunt snorted coldly, and the light arrow in his hand shot out. Hundreds of light arrows were shot toward Lu Chen's landing spot. Divine skill, dimensional arrow, sky explosion. These arrows were extremely fast. Lu Chen's eyes widened, and he did not have time to stop. He tried to dodge instantly. Boom, 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 boom. The arrows were nailed in mid-air, as if there was a layer of ground in the air. After each arrow landed, it directly detonated a layer of terrifying spiritual energy. The air rings exploded in this layer of space instantly, like fireworks exploding in the sky. Ring after ring, they swept across the sky. Little Beast could not help but be shocked at this scene. Was this a god's skill? It was obviously not on the same level as a celestial prime. The god of the hunt's dimensional arrow directly sealed off the entire sky. This was an attack that was unimaginable in the past. Lu Chen was even directly blown out of the 9 void steps. Emptiness of gods and demons' arm. Dragon god form. Lu Chen hurriedly demonized his arm and tried his best to resist the spiritual energy attack of the dimensional arrow. The god of the hunt had the heavenly divine power, which meant that Lu Chen had to endure 100,000 times the damage. Even with the emptiness of gods and demons' arms' freakish defense, Lu Chen was still able to force people back time and time again, causing them to spit out mouthfuls of blood. I knew you had the emptiness of gods and demons' arm, but you didn't know that my dimensional arrow contains the power of resonance. It can penetrate your emptiness of gods and demons' arm and cause damage to your body directly. The god of the hunt drew his golden bow to the fullest, and a golden arrow appeared on the bow. A mere mortal like you wants to devour a god? Solipsistic, I will now let you know the true strength of a god. This is a height that you will never reach. Heaven's path divine skill, destruction, star-shattering arrow. Lu Chen gritted his teeth and endured the resonance damage from the planar arrow again and again as he stared at the golden arrow. Damn it, this deity's battle prowess is too terrifying, and his means are also impossible to guard against. When the divine archery was practiced to this extent, it was practically invincible. Sealing off the sky could prevent the opponent from getting close at all, and then he would go all out and attack crazily. Lu Chen had been through hundreds of battles, but in front of the god of the hunt, he was actually unable to fight back. After a short period of charging, the golden arrow had already pierced through the air and shot toward Lu Chen at an unbelievable speed. At the critical moment, Lu Chen shouted angrily. God's descent. Only a god's skill could resist a god's skill. With God's descent, Lu Chen finally dodged the star-shattering arrow. The arrow hit the ground directly, and the earth was instantly pierced through, forming a bottomless abyss. However, the power of the star-shattering arrow still didn't dissipate. Deep in the ground, there was a sudden burst of air, and then the 1,000-hectare forest was pushed 4 to 5 meters down at a rate visible to the naked eye. The entire Vero planet was shaking at this moment. Large swaths of giant trees fell, countless mountains collapsed, the earth cracked, and wild beasts howled. It was a real disaster. The power of this arrow was enough to change the landscape within a radius of 1,000 miles. Even Lu Chen couldn't help but be shocked. Was this the true power of a god? No, this was only the power of the god of the hunt's fighting soul. How can it be so strong? Lu Chen's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and he looked at the collapsed ground below in horror. Didn't this guy say that he was a lower god? He seemed to be the weakest type of god, but it was already so terrifying. Solipsistic, I underestimated you. The god of the hunt instantly appeared not far away from Lu Chen. Lu Chen had god's descent, and he seemed to have some kind of god-level body movement technique. The god of the hunt looked at Lu Chen coldly. Weren't you quite arrogant before? Why, are you scared now? Lu Chen panted heavily and stared at the god of the hunt. You are more powerful than the fighting souls in the Tong Tian Tower. Ha 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 ha. The god of the hunt laughed wildly. Have you forgotten that there are strong and weak fighting souls? The fighting souls in the Tong Tian Tower are only there to select those who are qualified to enter the 8 levels of heaven. I am talking about those who are qualified. They are far from becoming true gods. Such a selection doesn't need us to do anything. Our fighting souls are still very useful. The gods in charge of the Tong Tian Tower are gods who don't have their own territories and are only there to exchange for some power of faith. How can they be compared to me? Alright, although to be honest, I admire your ability to go against the heavens, I will never let you live. This arrow will send you on your way. Lu Chen took a deep breath. Other than the virtual form, which he didn't have time to activate, he activated all the enhancement modes. At the same time, he drew out the infinite celestial demon sword. Lu Chen couldn't hold back against the god of the hunt's fighting soul. I said, either you tell me where the Hongmeng divine tree is, or you die. Lu Chen said in a low voice. The god of the hunt smirked. You are about to die, yet you are still so stubborn. Do you think you are qualified to threaten a god? Divine skill, arrow of the dimension, black hole. A pitch-black arrow shot out from the giant bow. The black arrow exploded right in front of Lu Chen. Then, a huge suction force came from the black hole. A spinning black hole appeared in midair. Lu Chen would never have expected this move. This guy had at least 3 divine skills, and each of them was so powerful. Lu Chen gathered all the spiritual energy in his body and shouted, God's Advent. However, he found that he didn't move. The god of the hunt sneered. Solipsistic God's Advent, it seems like you haven't mastered it yet. I spent 1,000 years on this black hole. Do you think you can escape with just a divine skill? You can never escape from the black hole. Lu Chen was being pulled into the black hole by a huge suction force. Even God's Advent couldn't break free, let alone skills like 9 steps on the void, triple gate, and rapid movement. An irresistible force was pulling Lu Chen step by step toward the bloody mouth of the black hole. Damn it! Tiger descends the mountain. Void attack, Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Void attack, Suppressive Fire. Ice Flame Sword. Heaven's Fury Spear. Endless Dawn. Black Heaven Earth Fiend. Heaven Burning Earth Fire. Lu Chen used almost everything he had learned in his life, but the black hole swallowed all his attacks. No matter how fierce and crazy Lu Chen's attacks were, they all disappeared like clay oxen entering the sea. Dad! Don't come over! Lu Chen roared. At this time, even if Little Beast, Little Furball, and Little Originator came, they couldn't break free. On the contrary, they would be pulled into the black hole together. Solipsistic God, this is the difference between a mortal and a god. You can't even defeat my war soul, and you still want to survive in the 8th heaven? Dream on. Just when Lu Chen was at his wit's end and was about to be pulled into the black hole, suddenly, Lu Chen's heart skipped a beat. It seemed like a guy in his beast pen had woken up. Chapter 1434. Are true immortals so powerful now? A voice filled with vicissitudes of life sounded in Lu Chen's mind. Rhubarb? Lu Chen struggled to resist the suction of the black hole while his mind was in a mess. Master, Rhubarb replied. You're finally awake. This isn't a true immortal, this is a lower god. Lower god? Master, you've reached the 8th heaven. Rhubarb was obviously still stuck in its memory when it fell asleep. Who would have thought that it had already reached the 8th heaven in the blink of an eye? After all, Rhubarb had fallen asleep because of the breakthrough. Now that it had finally woken up, it could speak human language. It was clear that Rhubarb was no longer the Rhubarb of the past. Lu Qin said anxiously, "Rhubarb, do you have a way to break this move? The closer I get to this damn thing, the stronger the gravitational force. I can't hold on any longer. Master, I'm powerless now. I can't help you defeat the black hole." When Lu Qin heard this, the only life-saving straw in his heart was gone. Rhubarb had evolved by 1 heaven. What had he evolved into? "Master, where's little beast?" Rhubarb's voice sounded again. "Down there. Let him come over. We'll enter the black hole together." Huh? Lu Qin was stunned. Rhubarb meant that he couldn't leave little beast alone. "Master, trust me." Lu Qin didn't have much time left. Lu Qin hesitated for a moment and finally chose to trust Rhubarb. "Little beast, come here, quick." Little beast didn't understand the situation, but he had absolute trust in his father. Even if he knew that it was a mountain of daggers and a sea of flames, he wouldn't hesitate to summon his father. "I'm coming, Dad. I'll help you." Unfortunately, little beast couldn't resist the black hole's gravitational force. The two of them were sucked into the black hole. Seeing that Lu Qin was finally sucked into the black hole, the god of hunt laughed wildly. "Ha ha ha ha, human sovereign. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? In less than a day, you will all be reduced to ashes in the black hole." The moment they entered the black hole, Lu Qin and the little critter were wrapped in a mass of light at the same time. Both of them didn't feel anything unusual before they were sucked into the boundless darkness. With the protection of the spirit shield, the two of them did not feel the black hole. "Dad, is this your spirit shield?" Little beastie looked strangely at the light barrier that enveloped them. "Dad shouldn't have this kind of spirit shield." "No, it might be Rhubarb's." "Rhubarb?" That guy woke up. The little beast was shocked. Lu Qin summoned Fluffy, Originator, Rhubarb, and the little golden carp. When Rhubarb appeared, everyone was shocked. At this moment, Rhubarb was no longer that grayish-yellow little mutt. It had become extremely terrifying. Its dirty brown hair had turned into pure black hair. Its eyes were blood red, and its face was like a mix of a dragon and a dog. When it opened its mouth, it revealed sharp fangs. Its height had reached more than 10 meters. Under its black hair, one could vaguely see its well-proportioned muscles. Even when compared to Originator in its white tiger form, Rhubarb's body size was not inferior to Originator's. "You are Rhubarb?" Everyone's eyes widened. Only the little golden carp tilted its head and looked curiously at Rhubarb, wondering what kind of creature it was. Lu Qin was also very surprised. This guy had changed so much after evolving. It even dyed its hair. The group of people stayed far away from Rhubarb. With its blood-red eyes and fangs, Rhubarb did not look like a good guy. Little critter said guiltily, Rhubarb, I have to explain. In fact, we have always liked you. When you were sleeping, no, when you were cultivating, we were afraid that your muscles would atrophy, so we pulled you to exercise." Rhubarb opened its mouth, and its mouth was full of saliva, showing its ferocity. Squeak! Squeak! Fluffy squeaked a few times at Rhubarb. During the fight, it had only bitten Rhubarb more than 70 times. Roar! Originator said that it had really stepped on Rhubarb by accident. Obviously, Rhubarb had changed. Lu Qin thought that when Rhubarb asked him to enter the black hole, it did not sound strange. However, when he was released, he found that Rhubarb had undergone earth-shaking changes. He could feel some kind of aura from Rhubarb. It was an unprecedented aura of brutality and darkness. Even the four ferocious beasts could not compare to Rhubarb's brutal aura. Lu Chen had to try to persuade Rhubarb to change his attitude toward Rhubarb. Rhubarb, even if little golden carp comes, you won't lose your job. I promise. You have always been the best cheerleader in my heart. Finally, Rhubarb opened his mouth. What are you talking about? What activity? Originator? Did you step on me? I was wondering why I was suddenly hit by a meteorite when I was lifting the all-ages seal. I couldn't even dodge it. Xiao Yuan rolled his eyes and immediately shook his head like a rattledrum. Lu Chen suddenly asked, Rhubarb, you said that you were lifting the all-ages seal. What do you mean? Rhubarb thought for a moment, then sat down and heaved a sigh. As a matter of fact, I was. Rhubarb raised his head, only to see a bunch of people gazing at him attentively. Obviously, they were all curious about his identity. As a matter of fact, I was the Dark Devil Lord from outer space. However, my body was sealed by 100 Jiutian over-gods. Over-gods? Lu Chen's eyes were wide open. Yes. Hundreds of over-gods besieged me. They were really unscrupulous. Rhubarb was still furious when he recalled what had happened in the past. However, even if they could restrain me, they couldn't completely destroy my physical body. Therefore, those despicable fellows thought of ways to weaken my spirit core. In the end, they even sealed my memories in the myriad realms, and I became the big yellow that you speak of. I met Mu Xian by chance. Instinctively, I sensed that he was very strong in the mortal world. He seemed to have sensed the difference in me, so he kept me as his pet. Unfortunately, he was just an individual immortal with a limited upper limit. Entrusted by your father to protect his world, he found you, Master. Master, you know what happened later. However, I didn't expect that you could find the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow Mirror. Although the level of this treasure is not high, I felt a familiar aura when Master obtained the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow Mirror. The world within the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow Mirror is an illusory world, but one can continuously be reborn in the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow Mirror. Those over-gods probably didn't expect that they had sealed my memories. However, they couldn't completely erase them. I was reborn again and again. After tens of thousands of times, I finally regained all my memories bit by bit. After my memories were unsealed, part of my abilities were also freed. Rhubarb raised his head, only to see that the people in front of him had been completely petrified. The Dark Devil Lord from outer space. Rhubarb? How could the two be connected? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.